Welcome, one and all, folks, for a very hazardous analysis of the 2024 presidential debate between one Joseph R. Biden and one Donald J. Trump over who's going to get to be President Supreme come January 2025. Folks, I am your King of Extreme, Phil K.O.E., the man of the hour, the man with the power, the man that makes the other podcast cower. And we are on our way to the chicken coop. Tony G and I are on the way. There's a little bit of a drive there. So we figured, let's get two birds with one stone, or get two birds stoned at once for all you Trailer Park Boys fans. And we're going to, this is a treat for you folks. You get to see Tony seeing the debate for the first time. You have not seen this debate.
No, I did not watch last night. I was tied up with some other things and figured, hey, this will break up the drive a bit. Let's watch and review this thing as we just drive up to South Dakota. That makes perfect sense, right?
Yeah. Now, Tony, you've revealed where Chicken lives, and he's one of the 6 residents of South Dakota. Yeah, doxed him.
That's my bad.
Sorry, man. Now, don't worry, folks in South Dakota, when Chicken does come and visits us, he remembers to turn the light off. Okay, but anyways, back to the debate at hand, folks. I've seen it. I saw it. It's real. It happens.
Okay. We verified that it happened.
I don't want to spoil it. But have you read any analysis of this debate?
No, I saw at most like 15 seconds of clips. That's it.
Okay, well, folks.
So yeah, I'm ready.
Oh man, you get to watch this with me. This is a treat. All right, Tony. Without further ado, hit play.
Welcome, the 46th President of the United States, Joe Biden.
Boo! Boo! Suck!
Well, he's upright.
He's already meeting his expectation.
Yeah, he is upright.
Stands up the 45th President of the United States, Donald Trump.
That is the walk of a disheveled man.
Now watch what happens here. No handshake, barely acknowledges each other.
Did you?
Kind of expected Trump to just walk over and sock him. Like, whoa!
Concern the economy. President Biden, inflation has slowed, but prices remain high. Since you took office, the price of essentials has increased. For example, a basket of groceries that cost $100 then now costs more than $120.
A lot more than that.
Yeah. I just went to Walmart today.
What do you say to voters who feel they are worse off under your presidency than they were under President Trump?
We got to take a look at what I was left when I became president. Mr. Trump, we had an economy that was fruitful. The pandemic was so badly handled. Many people were dying. All he said
Literally did everything you people wanted him to do. And you ridiculed him for it.
The economy collapsed. There were no jobs. Unemployment rate rose to
I do have a slight delay between my audio and video for some reason on the Bluetooth here. So.
Back together again. That's exactly what we began to do. Created 15,000 new jobs.
No, you didn't.
Position where we have 800,000 manufacturing jobs. There's more to be done.
Oh, just
More to
wait.
be done. Working class people are still in trouble. I come from Scranton, Pennsylvania. It's a household where the kitchen tables, things weren't able to be met during the month. It was a true problem. Price of eggs.
What the hell are you talking about?
Housing, the price of all wages. That's why I'm working so hard to make sure I deal with those problems. And we're going to make sure that we.
What you were left with was a product of your own design.
2 million new units.
You people are the reason the economy went to shit because we shut down.
I was left with the corporate reason, the reason why we're in this problem right now. In addition to that, we're in a situation where we have to take a look at all that was done in this administration. He didn't do much at all. By the time he left, things were in chaos. Things were in chaos. And so we put things back together. We created, I said, those jobs. We make sure we had a situation
You didn't create jobs.
We brought down the price of prescription drugs.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, people on insulin, especially.
Trump literally did that as one of his last-ditch efforts to get reelected.
More than $200 for any drug, all the drugs they.
And then you fucking presidential executive ordered it.
Everybody.
No, you won't.
So we're working to bring down the price of.
Then why haven't you done it?
That's what we're going to get done.
Why? Why is it different now? Why would you do that now? Why would you do that now and not over the last 4 years? You won't because you can't because you don't want to. No, none of that was accurate. He created no new jobs. He just gave some people incentive to continue not working, and all the jobs that he created, quote unquote, were just people going back to fucking work. So no, all of that was a fucking bold-faced lie. Great.
So we're off to that. Now, what's funny is, well, I don't want to spoil it, but all right, now we're getting into Trump's answers of this. Like, Tony, no.
Start drinking already.
No, not yet. We encourage responsible drinking.
Just getting a charge. I'm sorry.
Yep.
But then I might have to start drinking at some point.
Well, Joe Biden's team definitely did at some point during this debate.
How could you not?
Start drinking.
It's going so swimmingly already.
Yeah, but let's get
hear
into
Trump's response. I can't wait.
History of our country. We have never done so well.
Wait, what?
So we're working to bring down the price of farm kitchen
Take it
table.
off.
No, you're not, Joe.
Thank you, President Trump.
We have the greatest economy in the history of our country.
History.
We have never done so well. Everybody was amazed by it. Other countries were copying us. We got hit with COVID. And when we did, we spent the money necessary so we wouldn't end up in the Great Depression, the likes of which we had in 1929. By the time we finished, so we did a great job. We got a lot of credit for the economy, a lot of credit for the military, and no wars, and so many other things. Everything was rocking good. But the thing
Nobody was fighting during a pandemic.
Is getting us out of that COVID mess. He created mandates that was a disaster for our country. But other than that, we had given them back a country where the stock market actually was higher than pre-COVID, and nobody thought that was even possible.
That's accurate.
The only jobs he created were for illegal immigrants and bounce-back jobs, to bounce back from the COVID. He has not done a good job. He's done a poor job. Inflation's killing our country. It is absolutely killing us.
Yeah.
Thank you, President Biden.
Well, not you personally,
The
Donald.
greatest economy in the world. He's the only one who thinks this, I think. Not anybody else thinks that we have the greatest economy in the world. And, the fact of the matter is that we found ourselves in a situation where
Yeah, it doesn't sound
his economy, he rewarded the wealthy. He had the largest tax cut in American history, $2 trillion. He raised the deficit larger than any president.
Well, he's a
has in the
Republican,
world.
Joe. What do you
He's
expect?
the only
They do it on the
president
record. You guys just
lost more jobs than he had when he began, since Herbert Hoover. The idea that he did something that was significant in the military, when he
really dropping the Hoover.
I like how you kind of brought that. I was like, yeah, Joe, he's a Republican. They do that on the front end. They're just up front of, we're cutting taxes
For the rich, for us.
for the people who support us generally. You guys,
They don't do it on the record.
yeah, Democrats do it secretly while acting like, while they pretend how much they don't want to. Okay?
Sorry, that's just the truth.
It's sort of like Barack Obama. He was the teary-eyed warmonger taking us to war to prove to us just how much he didn't want to.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, the Democrats, you brought up a good point there. It's like, yeah,
You should do this in like 1.25.
there's a few things you gotta say.
I'm already like,
We're driving over the Platte River.
When he was president, we still found ourselves in a position where
has water
we
in it.
had the notion that we were this safe country. Truth is, I'm the only president this century that doesn't have this decade, that doesn't have any troops dying anywhere in the world like he did.
What? What?
President Trump, I want
What?
to follow up.
What the fuck did he just say?
He's saying he's never had anybody die in foreign soil. Like, warmonger
What?
Biden is like, now,
Did he just say no American soldiers died during his presidency? Is that what he just said?
I'm thinking that's what he just said. Now, this is the guy who withdrawed from Afghanistan.
That's literally the first thing that came to mind. Pretty sure people fucking died there.
A lot of our people
And
died.
pretty
there.
sure they weren't just Afghanis.
Yeah.
So
We left American citizens behind. We left our people behind. Like,
how the fuck did he even get that out?
I don't know. Well, yeah, I have no idea
What
how.
the fuck? Did he seriously just say that?
Yeah, he did.
That's just like who would actually believe that?
Bald-faced lie.
Or, nobody would. Okay.
I can. You
Am I
want
allowed to respond to him?
Well, I'm going to ask you a follow-up. You can do whatever you want with the minute that we give you. I want to follow up. You want to impose a 10% tariff on all goods coming into the
I
U.S.
bet you
How will
do.
you ensure that that doesn't drive prices even higher?
Not going to drive them higher. It's just going to cause countries that have been ripping us off for years, like China and many others, in all fairness to China. It's going to just force them to pay us a lot of money, reduce our deficit tremendously, and give us a lot of power for other things. But he made a statement. The only thing he was right about is I gave you the largest tax cut in history. I also gave you the largest regulation cut in history. That's why we had all the jobs. And the jobs went down and then they bounced back, and he's taking credit for bounce back jobs. You can't do that. He also said he inherited 9% inflation. Now, he inherited almost no inflation, and it stayed that way for 14 months. And then it blew up under his leadership because they spent money like a bunch of people that didn't know what they were doing, and they don't know what they were doing. It was
No, they know exactly what they're doing.
Administration in history. There's never been. And as far as Afghanistan is concerned, I was getting out of Afghanistan, but we were getting out with dignity, with strength, with power. He got out.
You
It was
waited
the most
too long.
embarrassing day in the history of our country's life.
You should have
President
done it
Trump,
here
over the
too.
last 8 years, under both of your administrations, the national debt soared to record highs. And according to a new nonpartisan analysis, President Trump, your administration approved $8.4 trillion in new debt, while so far, President Biden, you've approved $4.3 trillion in new debt. So, former President Trump, many of the tax cuts that you signed into law are set to expire next year. You want to extend them and go even further, you say. With the U.S. facing trillion-dollar deficits and record debt, why should top earners and corporations pay even less in taxes than they do now?
Because the tax cuts spurred the greatest economy that we've ever seen just prior to COVID. And even after COVID, it was so strong that we were able to get through COVID much better than just about any other country. But when we cut the taxes, as an example, the corporate tax was cut down to 21% from 39%.
Better than any other
Beyond that, we took in more revenue with much less tax, and companies were bringing back trillions of dollars back into our country. The country was going like never before, and we were ready to start paying down debt. We were ready to start using the liquid gold right under our feet, the oil and gas right under our feet. We were going to have something that nobody else has had. We got hit with COVID. We did a lot to fix it. I gave him an unbelievable situation with all of the therapeutics and all of the things that we came up with. We gave him something great. Remember, more people died under his administration, even though we had largely fixed it. More people died under his administration than our administration, and we were right in the middle of it. That's something which a lot of people don't like to talk about. But he had far more people dying in his administration. He did the mandate, which is a disaster, mandating it.
Yeah.
The vaccine went out. He did a mandate on the vaccine, which is the thing that people most objected to about the vaccine. And he did a very poor job, just a very poor job. And I will tell you, not only poor there, but throughout the entire world, we're no longer respected as a country. They don't respect our leadership. They don't respect the United States anymore. Yeah. We're like a third world nation between weaponization of his election, trying to go after his political opponent. All of the things he's done, we've become like a third world nation. And it's a shame. The damage he's done to our country. And I'd love to ask him, and will, why he allowed millions of people to come in here from prisons, jails, and mental institutions to come into our country and destroy our country.
President Trump, we will get to immigration later in this block. President Biden, I want to give you an opportunity to respond to this question about the national debt.
He had the largest national debt of any president in a 4-year period, number one. Number two, he got $2 trillion tax cut benefited the very wealthy. Now we're going to fix the tax system. For example, we have 1,000 trillionaires in America. I mean, billionaires. And what's happening? They're in a situation where they, in fact, pay 8.2% taxes. If they just paid 24%, 25%, either one of those numbers, they'd raise $500 million. billion, I should
How do you
say.
figure,
in a
Joe?
10-year period. We'd be able to wipe out his debt. We'd be able to help make sure that all those things we need to do,
Wipe it all out.
childcare.
No,
elder
that's
care,
not a
making sure that we
possibility.
strengthen our healthcare system, making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with with the COVID. Excuse me, with dealing with everything we had to do with. Look,
What?
if we
Yeah.
finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President.
What?
By President
What?
Trump.
What?
He's right, he did beat Medicare, he beat it to death.
All those things we need to do.
Yeah, but no, this is where he
Elder
just
care, making sure that we continue to strengthen our healthcare system, making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the COVID. Excuse me, with dealing with everything we had to do with. Look, if
Oh boy.
we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President.
And he cuts him up because he knew it was going
He's
so
right, he
bad.
did beat Medicare, he beat it to death, and he's
That-
destroying Medicare.
That's
Because
amazing.
All of these people are coming in. They're
That
putting
was
them in Medicare, they're
A+ response. Wow.
yeah, because like
Wow.
when he gets another couple of zingers in,
Man,
I'm not
that's
gonna give it
solid
away.
improv.
But
But he's clearly in a mental state of decline, Trump.
clearly.
It's clearly Trump, not Joe Biden.
Well, yeah, that clip is the one that everybody's freaking out. Like literally, like that clip, and there's some more tonight. Like he can't really string together coherent sentences,
Holy crap.
and so it's the Democrats are
Wow.
freaking out right now.
How is this news? How are they just now figuring this shit out?
But
How have they not been putting somebody in a position to be his successor over the last 4 fucking years? Like I've been saying, they waited and waited and waited, and now it's almost too late, and they're stuck with this, and it's like a giant shock and surprise. How is this a surprise to any of
I
you?
was about to say, I mean,
Fuck!
Democrats, you had RFK Jr., which was practically a layup.
Yeah!
I mean, and now you're Tony, people are freaking out over like what you
How are
just
you
saw right there.
freaking out? Because this was expected. This is exactly what I expected. A guy who can't coherently speak because he's not coherent. You're all surprised by this. We've been making fun of this for 4 fucking years on this show, on these network of shows. And you're just now figuring out, oh, wait, there's a reason they were doing that? Really? This is news to you. Fuck.
putting them on Social Security. They're going to destroy Social Security. This man is going to single-handedly destroy
Hotels
Social
just going
Security.
up.
These
Casinos
millions
open.
and millions of people coming in, they're trying to put them on Social Security. He will wipe out
Let's
Social
go
Security.
check out the
He will
buffet.
wipe out
Way better.
Medicare. So he was right in the way he finished that sentence, and it's a shame.
Yeah, yeah.
What's happened to our country in the last 4 years is not to be believed. Foreign countries, I'm friends with a lot of people. They cannot believe what happened to the United States of America. We're no longer respected. They don't like us.
Okay, but
We give them everything.
they didn't like us
and they
before,
think
Donald.
we're stupid. They think we're very stupid people.
Yes, they
But
do.
we it
That's
for other
never not been
countries,
the case.
and they
for a
do
long
nothing
time.
for us. What this man has done is absolutely criminal.
That's
Thank
true.
you, President Trump. Dana?
This is the first presidential election since the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. This morning, the court ruled on yet another abortion case.
Okay,
Okay.
I gotta tell you this. Jon Stewart had one of the best
All right.
lines about this. Like he goes, "Oh, thank God!" And question. Oh, Shirley, Joe, this is a layup for you. This should be easy for you. This is Trump's weakest point. So surely, and he also had the best line of all night. Joe Biden has had resting 25th Amendment face. Like, ooh. Because, yeah, the rest of the cabinet's like, so, 25th Amendment? 25th?
Wow.
Temporarily allowing emergency abortions to continue in Idaho, despite that state's restrictive ban. Former President Trump, you take credit for the decision to overturn Roe v. Wade, which
Bet he
returned
does.
the issue of abortion to the states.
Yeah,
However,
that's how it should be. It's
the federal
states.
government still plays a role
That's
in
right.
whether or not women have access to abortion pills. They're used in about 2/3 of all abortions. As president, would you block abortion medication?
First of all, the Supreme
Plan
Court
B
just
is not a
approved the abortion
contraceptive.
bill. And I agree with their decision to have done that, and I will not block it. And if you look at this whole question that you're asking, a complex, but not really complex. 51 years ago, you had Roe v. Wade, and everybody wanted to get it back to the states. Everybody, without exception. Democrats,
Yeah.
Republicans, liberals, conservatives.
Yes.
Everybody wanted it back. Religious leaders. And what I
Oh,
did
it should
is
be.
I put 3 great Supreme Court justices on the court, and they happened to vote in favor of killing Roe v. Wade and moving it back to the states. This is something that everybody wanted. 10 years ago or so, they started talking about how many weeks and how many this, getting into other things. But every legal scholar throughout the world, the most respected, wanted it brought back to the states. I did that. Now the states are working it out. If you look at Ohio,
They should be.
it was an end result that was a little bit more liberal than you would have thought. Kansas, I would say the same thing. Texas is different. Florida is different. But they're all
Florida's
making their
very
own
different.
decisions right now. And right now, the states control it. That's the vote of the people. Like Ronald Reagan, I believe in the exceptions. I am a person that believes. And frankly,
Good
I think
God. Joe literally looks like
some
his
people have
brain
to follow your heart. Some
is
people don't
melting in
believe
real
that.
time.
But I believe in the
More than
exceptions for rape, incest, and the life of the mother. I think it's very important. Some people don't. Follow your heart. But you have to get elected also. And because that has to do with other things. You got to get elected. The problem they have is they're radical because they will take the life of a child in the 8th month, the 9th month, and even after birth. After birth, if you look at the former governor of Virginia, he was willing to do this. He said, we'll put the baby aside and we'll determine what we do with the baby, meaning we'll kill the baby. What happened is we brought it back to the states, and the country is now coming together on this issue. It's been a great thing.
Thank you. President Biden?
It's been a terrible thing. The fact is that the vast majority of constitutional scholars supported Roe when it was decided. Supported Roe. And that's this idea that they're all against it is just ridiculous. And this is a guy who says the state should be able to have it. We're in a state where in 6 weeks, you don't even know if you're pregnant or not, but you cannot see a doctor and have him decide on what your circumstances are when you need help. The idea that states are able to do this is a little like saying we're going to turn civil rights back to the states, that each state have a different role. Look, there's so many young women who have been, including a young woman
It's not.
who was murdered, and he went to the funeral.
What?
The idea that each state have a different role. Look, there's so many young women who have been, including a young woman who just was murdered, and he went to the funeral. The idea that she was murdered by an immigrant. I mean, they talk about that. But here's the deal.
What?
There's a lot of young women being raped by their in-laws, by their spouses,
What?
sisters, it's just ridiculous, and they can do nothing about it. And they try to
What?
arrest them when they cross state line.
Thank you.
There have been many young
What the
women.
fuck is he talking
by their
about?
spouses.
He also talks about how people who get raped by their sisters, women who get raped by their sisters, need to cross state lines.
Oh, good God.
Like I think that's what he said. I like.
Here you go, lefties. This is what you
Right,
get
sorry.
when you elect a guy who's clearly in a mental state of decline and you begin confusing him with gender roles. This is what you get. Congratulations.
Yeah, we got to hear that again.
Brothers and sisters, it's just ridiculous. And they can do
It is ridiculous.
And they try to arrest them when they cross state line.
Thank you.
There have been many young women murdered by the same people he allows to come across our border. We have a border that's the most dangerous place anywhere in the world, considered the most dangerous place
Right,
anywhere in the world.
abortion and turn it
And he
into
opened it
immigration.
up, and these killers are coming into our
Trump's
country,
strongest.
and they are raping and killing
Wow.
women. And it's a terrible
What a
thing.
brilliant
As far as
move.
abortion is concerned, it is now back.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Let's segue to immigration. I'm real good at that.
I was about to say. So
What the fuck?
what was his strongest point, and for some reason, inexplicably for no reason, started talking about immigration, his strongest point. And, in his mind, he thought he had some brilliant thing. And then it all came out like like he's spitting up marbles.
Okay.
Back with the states are voting. In many cases, it's frankly a very liberal decision. In many cases, it's the opposite. But they're voting, and it's bringing it back to the vote of the people, which is what everybody wanted, including the founders, if they knew about this issue, which frankly they didn't. But they would have, everybody wanted brought back. Ronald Reagan wanted it brought back. He wasn't able to get it. Everybody wanted it brought back, and many presidents had tried to get it back. I was the one to do it. And again, this gives it the vote of the
Yes,
people.
you were,
And
Donald.
that's where they
You're a
wanted
special
it. Every
boy.
legal scholar wanted it that
He
way.
was the one who did it.
Staying on the topic of abortion, President
That's what he
Biden,
did.
7 states, I'll let you do that. This is the same topic. 7
Look at that.
states have no legal
God.
restrictions on how far into a pregnancy a woman can obtain an abortion. Do
It
you
looks like
support
gravity
any
is hurting
legal
him.
limits
Yeah.
on how late a woman should be able to terminate a pregnancy?
I support Roe v. Wade, which had 3 trimesters. First time is between the woman and the doctor. Second time is between the doctor and an extreme situation. The third time is between the doctor, between the woman and the state. The idea that the politicians, that the founders want the politicians to be the ones making decisions about a woman's health is ridiculous. That's the last. No politician should make that decision.
No, you shouldn't.
That's how it should be run. That's what you're going to do. And
Holy
I'm
shit.
going to restore Roe v. Wade.
He can take the life of the baby in the 9th month and even after birth, because some states, Democrat run, take it after birth. Again, the former governor of Virginia, put the baby down, then we decide what to do with it. So he's willing to, as we say, rip the baby out of the womb in the 9th month and kill the baby. Nobody wants that to happen, Democrat or Republican. Nobody wants it to happen.
That is simply not true. The Roe v. Wade does not provide for that. That's not the circumstance. Only if a woman's life is in danger, she's going to die. That's the only circumstance which that can happen. But we are not for late-term abortion, period. Period.
Really? Because it kind of sounded like you were.
Late-term abortion. You can do whatever you want, depending on the state. You can do whatever you want. We don't think that's a good thing. We think it's a radical thing. We think the Democrats are the radicals, not the Republicans.
For 51 years, that was the law. 51 years, constitutional scholarship said it was the right way to go. 51 years, and it was taken away because this guy, with very conservative members on the Supreme Court, takes credit for taking it away. What's he going to do? What's he going to do, in fact, if the MAGA Republicans, he gets elected, and the MAGA Republicans control the Congress, and they pass a universal ban on abortion, period, across the board, at 6 weeks or 7 or 8 or 10 weeks, something very, very conservative. Is he going to sign that bill? I'll veto it. He'll sign it.
Thank you.
Let's turn now to the issue of immigration and border security. President Biden, a record number of migrants have illegally crossed the
Biden
southern
already
border.
segued into this.
Yeah.
Overwhelming border states and overburdening cities such as New York and Chicago, and in some cases causing real safety and security concerns. Given that, why should voters trust you to solve this crisis?
Because we worked very hard to get a bipartisan agreement.
Yeah, you sure did, Joe.
That we are in a situation where you had no circumstance where they could come across the border.
Wow.
The number of border police are now.
This truck is loud as fuck.
Silence significantly. By the way, the border patrol endorsed my position. In addition to that, we found ourselves in a situation where he was president.
No, they did not. I did see that. They endorsed me, and I saw them literally tweet out, "No, we did not."
That's not the right way to go. What I've done since I've changed the law, what happened? I've changed it in the way that now you're in a situation where there are 40% fewer people coming across the border legally. It's better than when he left office.
What?
And I'm going to continue to move until we get the total.
That's not even close to accurate.
The total initiative relative to what we can do with
No.
control and more.
I think he accidentally said it's better when he left
I really don't know
office.
what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look, we had the safest border in the history of our country.
Yeah, we got
Changing the way that now you're in a situation where 3% fewer people coming across the border illegally. It's better than he left office. And I'm going to continue to move until we get to the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we can do with more border patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look, we had the safety.
Oh my God, the old man glare.
Let's leave it. Let's leave it. He decided to open up our border, open up our country to
look at
people that
He
are
is sad.
from prisons, people that are from mental institutions, insane asylums, terrorists. We're the largest number of terrorists coming into our country right now. All terrorists, all over the world, not just in South America, all over the world. They come from the Middle East, everywhere. All over the world, they're pouring in. But this guy just left it open, and he didn't need legislation because I didn't have legislation. I said, close the border. We had the safest border in history. In that final couple of months of my presidency,
camera's not doing
we
you a
had,
favor.
according to Border Patrol, who is
They shouldn't even
I don't
show him.
endorse me for president, but I won't say that.
Less
He
is
endorsed me for
more.
president.
Holy shit.
Brandon, just speak
He
to him.
looks confused and
Look,
upset.
we had the safest border in history. Now we have the worst border in history. There's never been anything like it. And people are dying all over the place, including the people that are coming up.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden?
The only terrorist who's done anything across the border is one who came along and killed three, under his administration, killed Al-Qaeda person coming in his administration, killed three American soldiers. Killed three American soldiers. That's the only terrorist that's ever. I'm not saying that no terrorist ever got through. The idea they're emptying their prisons, we're welcoming these people. That's simply not true. There's no data to support what he said. Once again, he's exaggerating. He's lying.
President Trump, staying on the topic of immigration, you said you're going to carry out, quote, the largest
Okay,
domestic.
Lying about my lies.
Okay, Tapper here. I think it's Tapper or Clapper. I forget what his name is, but I gotta give this guy credit. But just not acknowledging, like, he's somehow like that giant turd got laid right in front of him, and he's just pretending like he doesn't smell it.
Yeah.
Because he loves Biden so much.
Yeah.
But like you got like his commitment to the gimmick is a bit much.
It's committed. Something should be.
An operation in American history, unquote. Does that mean that you will deport every undocumented immigrant in America, including those who have jobs, including those whose spouses are citizens, and including those who have lived here for decades? And if so, how will you do it?
Just 1 second. He said we killed three people. The people we killed are al-Baghdadi and Soleimani, the two greatest terrorists, biggest terrorists in the world. And it had a huge impact on everything, not just border, on everything. He's the one that killed people with a bad border, including hundreds of thousands of people dying, and also our citizens when they come in. We are living right now in a
cutting from
They're
it.
killing our people in New York, in California, and every state in the union, because we don't have borders anymore. Every state is now a border. And because of his ridiculous, insane, and very stupid policies, people are coming in and they're killing our citizens at a level that we've never seen. We call it migrant crime. I call it Biden migrant crime. They're killing our citizens at a level that we've never seen before. And you're reading it like these three incredible young girls over the last few days. One of them, I just spoke to the mother, and they just had the funeral for this girl, 12 years old. This is horrible what's taken place. What's taken place in our country, we're literally
12-year-old girl.
an uncivilized
That's
country now.
horrible.
He doesn't want it to be. He just doesn't know. He opened the borders. Nobody's ever seen anything like. And we have to get a lot of these people out, and we have to get them out fast because they're going to destroy our country. Just take a look at where they're living. In luxury hotels in New York City and other places. It's in our country. We're literally an uncivilized country now. He doesn't want it to be. And you're reading it like these three incredible young girls over the last few days. One of them, I just spoke to the mother, and they just had the funeral for this girl, 12 years old. This is horrible what's taken place. What's taken place in our country, we're literally an uncivilized country now. He doesn't want it to be. He just doesn't know. He opened the borders. Nobody's ever seen anything like. And we have to get a lot of these people out, and we have to get them out fast because they're going to destroy our country. Just take a look at where they're living. They're living in luxury hotels in New York City and other places. our veterans are on the street. They're dying because he doesn't care about our veterans. He doesn't care. He doesn't like the military at all. And he doesn't care about our veterans. Nobody been worse. I had the highest approval rating for veterans taking care of the VA. He has the worst. He's gotten rid of all the things that I approved. Choice that I got through Congress, all of the different things I approved, they abandoned. We had by far the highest, and now it's down in less than half because he's done all these great things that we did. And I think he did it just because I approved it, which is crazy. But he has killed so many people at our border by allowing all of these people to come in.
Answered none of the question asked.
But
None of it.
note what happened there. He now just brilliant persuasion turnaround. Biden border killing us.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Biden killing us with his border.
Yeah,
Like,
no, it worked, but he didn't answer anything.
No. You like what the moderators do throughout this debate because they don't really do because to their credit, usually the moderator gets a little starstruck and they start thinking that they're the important one.
Yeah.
And so then they start bonding with somebody.
Yeah.
I'll never forget, Chris Wallace wanted, Mr. President! It was like,
yeah, that was offensive.
Knock it the fuck off. This ain't about you.
Sorry, Joe, I'd like to take this one.
Yeah, it kind of was like that. So now we can see why.
Yeah.
But you'll see what the moderator does.
And Biden, you have the mic.
Every single thing he said is a lie.
No.
Every single one. For example, veterans are a hell of a lot better off since I passed the PACT Act. And their families.
No!
Because what happened, whether it was Agent Orange or burn pits, they're all being covered now.
No, they're not.
We oppose that. Also, in a situation where
Yeah, he said
there's
that.
great respect for veterans.
Agent Orange? The chemical from 50 some odd years ago?
My son spent a year in Iraq, living right next to one of those burn pits, came back with stage 4 glioblastoma. I was recently in France for D-Day, and I spoke all about those heroes that died. I went to the World War II cemetery, World War I cemetery, he refused to go to. He was standing with his 4-star general, and he told me, he said, I don't want to go in there because they're a bunch of losers and suckers. My son was not a loser, he was not a sucker. You're the sucker, you're the loser.
Well, wasn't Trump?
First of all, that was a made-up quote, suckers and losers. They made it up. It was in a third-rate magazine that's failing, like many of these magazines. He made that up. He put it in commercials. We've notified him. We had 19 people that said I didn't say it. And think of this. Who would say I'm at a cemetery or I'm talking about our veterans? Because nobody's taken better care. I'm so glad this came up, and he brought it up. There's nobody that's taken better care of our soldiers than I have. To think that I would, in front of generals and others, say suckers and losers. We have 19 people that said it was never said by me. It was made up by him, just like Russia was made up, just like the 51 intelligence agents are made up, just like the new thing with the 16 economists are talking. It's the same thing. 51 intelligence agents said that the laptop was Russia disinformation. It wasn't. That came from his son, Hunter. It wasn't Russia disinformation. He made up the suckers and losers, so he should apologize to me right now.
4-star general standing to your side who was on your staff who said you said it, period. That's number one.
Well, if it's
Number two,
awesome.
the idea that I have to apologize to you for anything along the line. We've done more for
Canada, you have
veterans than
things.
in American history. And they now are their family. The only sacred obligation we have as a country is to care for our veterans when they come home and their families and equip them when they go to war. That's what we're doing. That's what the VA is doing now. They're doing more for veterans than ever before in our history.
All right, thank you so much.
Topic of foreign policy. I want to begin with
sure,
Russia's war against Ukraine, which is now in its 3rd year. Former President Trump,
Which is
Russian
ridiculous.
President Vladimir Putin says he'll only end this war if Russia keeps.
When you say it's ridiculous, I always say when it comes to any war, anything that serves its intended purpose will be allowed to continue. Why do you think the Afghanistan war took 20 years?
Yeah.
Why do you think, the new wars, there's no winners, just casualties, and it's how long can you keep the money flowing? That's the new wars.
the Ukrainian territory it has already claimed, and Ukraine abandons its bid to join NATO. Are Putin's terms acceptable to you?
First of all, our veterans and our soldiers can't stand this guy. They can't stand
That's
him.
true.
They think he's the worst commander-in-chief, if that's what you call him, that we've ever had. They can't stand him. So let's get that straight. And they like me more than just about any of them.
Okay, all right.
And that's based on every single
You're going
bit of
too far.
information. As far as Russia and Ukraine, if we had a real president, the president that knew, that was respected by Putin, he would have never invaded Ukraine. A lot of people right now, much more than people know. You know, they talk about numbers. You can double those numbers, maybe triple those numbers. He did nothing to stop it. In fact, I think he encouraged Russia from going in. I'll tell you what happened. He was so bad with Afghanistan. It was such a horrible embarrassment, most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, that when Putin watched that and he saw the incompetence, that he should have fired those generals, like I fired the one that you mentioned. So he's got no love lost, but he should have fired those generals. No general got fired for the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, Afghanistan, where we left billions of dollars of equipment behind. We lost 13 beautiful soldiers, and 38 soldiers were obliterated. And by the way, we left people behind too. We left American citizens behind. When Putin saw that, he said, you know what? I think we're going to go in and maybe take this was his dream. I talked to him about it, his dream. The difference is he never would have invaded Ukraine. Never.
That was a bad
Just like Israel would have never been invaded in a million years by Hamas. You know what?
There you go, Donald. You just put your mouth on that one.
Me. I wouldn't let anybody do business with them. They ran out of money. They were broke. They had no money for Hamas. They had no money for anything. No money for terror. That's why you had no terror at all during my administration. This place, the whole world is blowing up under him.
President Biden?
I never heard so much malarkey in my whole life.
He brought up the malarkey.
Situation.
Yes.
Let's take the last point first.
Malarkey.
Iran attacked American troops, caused brain damage for a number of these troops.
A number of
And he
one of
did nothing
you.
about it. Recently, when he was president, they attacked. He said they're just having headaches. That's all it is. But he didn't do a thing when the attack took place. Number two, we got over 100,000 Americans and others out of Afghanistan during that era. Number three, find ourselves in a situation where, if you take a look at what Trump did in Ukraine, this guy told Trump, do whatever you want, and do whatever you want. And that's exactly what Trump did. With Putin encouraged him, do whatever you want. And he went in. Listen to what he said when he went in. We're going to take Kyiv in 5 days, remember? Because it's part of the old Soviet
Trump did
Union.
set himself
That's what
up
he wanted
for
to
this.
reestablish. Kyiv. And he, in fact, didn't do it at all. He wasn't able to get it done. And they've lost thousands and thousands of troops, 500,000 troops.
President Trump,
I never said that.
For 1 minute, I just want to go back to my original question, which is, are Putin's terms acceptable to you? Keeping the territory in Ukraine.
No, they're not acceptable. But look, this is a war that never should have started. If we had a leader in this war, he led everybody along. He's given $200 billion now or more to Ukraine. He's given $200 billion. That's a lot of money. I don't think there's ever been anything like it. Every time that Zelensky comes to this country, he walks away with $60 billion. He's the greatest salesman ever. And I'm not knocking him. I'm not knocking anything. I'm only saying the money that we're spending on this war, and we shouldn't be spending, it should have never happened. I will have that war settled between Putin and Zelensky as president-elect before I take office on January 20th. I'll have that war settled. People
That's a pretty big promise there, Donnie.
So stupidly. And I will get it settled, and I'll get it settled fast before I take office.
It just shows that he's in his
The
pocket.
fact is that Putin is a war criminal. He's killed thousands and thousands of people. And he has been clear. He wants to reestablish what was part of the Soviet Empire, not just a piece. He wants all of Ukraine. That's what he wants.
All that Zelensky, their praise not going to age well.
If he takes Ukraine, what do you think happens to Poland? What do you think happens to those NATO countries? And so if you want a war, you ought to find out what he's going to do, because
We already have plenty going on, Joe. What are you talking
by the
about?
way, all that money we give Ukraine from weapons we make here in the United States, we give them the weapons, not the money at this point. And our NATO allies.
That's not true.
There's as much funding for Ukraine as we have. That's why we're strong.
Thank you. Moving on
Maybe
to
it's
the
not
Middle East.
fumbling,
In
like you said.
October, Hamas
That's
attacked
funding, but
Israel,
yeah.
killing more than 1,000 people and taking hundreds of hostages. Among those held and thought to still be alive are 5 Americans. Israel's response has killed thousands of Palestinians and created a humanitarian crisis in Gaza. President Biden, you've put forward a proposal to resolve this conflict, but so far Hamas has not released the remaining hostages, and Israel is continuing its military offensive in Gaza. So what additional leverage will you use to get Hamas and Israel to end the war? You have 2 minutes.
Number one,
Oh, boy.
everyone from the United Nations Security Council straight through to the G7 to the Israelis and Netanyahu himself have endorsed the plan that I put forward. Which is 3 stages to it. The first stage is treat the hostages for a ceasefire. Second phase is a ceasefire with additional conditions. The third phase is the end of the war. Everyone wants the war to
No end
continue
of the
this
war.
month.
What?
Number one, they're the only ones saying
Jesus.
that. We're still pushing hard to get them to accept. In the meantime, what's happened? In Israel, we found that the only thing I've denied Israel was 2,000-pound bombs. They don't work very well in populated areas. They kill a lot of innocent people. We're providing Israel with all the weapons they need and when they need them. And by the way, I'm the guy that organized the world against Iran when they had a full-blown ballistic missile attack on Israel. No one was hurt.
He's basically just bragging that he's funding and supplying more.
A lot.
And he just said, "Oh, your war, see this guy there. I'm just so proud here, the money and the weapons."
Tony, I want you to keep in mind that Biden has been isolated for the last week and basically like a debate training camp. This is all he's been preparing for is this.
Okay, yeah, and I've seen people try to coach T-ball. It doesn't work for some people.
Yeah.
One Israeli was accidentally killed, and it just stopped. We saved Israel. We are the biggest producer of support for Israel of anyone in the world.
It's not
And
a
so
flex.
there are 2 different things. Hamas cannot be allowed to be continued. We continue to send our
Do you know what that is?
So how they can get
Trump is like losing it over there.
You don't
He's
have
about to
do it.
crack up.
By the way, they've been greatly weakened, Hamas. Greatly weakened, and they should be. They should be eliminated. But you've got to be careful for using certain weapons among population centers.
Going back to Ukraine for 1 second. We have an ocean separating us. The European nations together have spent 100 billion or maybe more than that, less than us. Why doesn't he call them and say, you got to put up your money like I did with NATO? I got them to put up hundreds of billions of dollars. The Secretary General of NATO said Trump did the most incredible job I've ever seen. They wouldn't have any, they were going out of business. We were spending almost 100% of the money was paid by us. He didn't do that. He's getting you got to ask these people to put up the money. We're over $100 billion more spent, and it has a bigger impact on them because of location, because we have an ocean in between. You got to ask them. As far as Israel and Hamas, Israel's the one that wants to go. He said the only one that wants to keep going is Hamas. Actually, Israel is the one, and you should let him go and let him finish the job. He doesn't want to do it. He's become like a Palestinian, but they don't like him because he's a very bad Palestinian. He's a weak one.
President Biden, you have a minute.
I've never heard so much foolishness. This is a guy who wants to get out of NATO. You understand NATO? He's going to get out of NATO. The idea that we have our strength lies in our alliances.
Trying to get all the Jewish voters to turn against it.
If we're able to avoid a war in Europe, a major war in Europe, what happens if, in fact, you have food continuing to go?
Yeah, I think that's what that was.
You have an Article 5 agreement. Attack on all is attack on all. We want to start the nuclear war he keeps talking about. Go ahead, let Putin go in and control Ukraine and then move on to Poland and other places. This is what happens then. He has no idea what the hell he's talking about. And by the way, I got 50 other nations around the world to support Ukraine, including Japan in South Korea because they understand that this kind of dislocation has a serious threat to the whole world peace. No major war in Europe has ever been able to be contained just to Europe.
President Trump, just to follow up, would you support the creation of an independent Palestinian state in order to achieve peace in the region?
I'd have to see, but before we do that,
You'd have
the
to
problem
see.
we have is that we spend all the money.
You'd have to see.
So they kill us on trade. I made great trade deals with the European nations
Straight answer.
because if you add them up, they're about the same size economically.
Great.
Their economy is about the same size as the United
We'll
States.
see.
And they were no cars.
I've never known
no-
a side
They don't want
step to
anything
be
that we have.
straight,
But we're
but
supposed to
okay.
take their cars, their food, their everything, their agriculture. I changed that. But the big thing I
He's not
changed.
going to
is
agree to
what
a
we're
deal
paying.
until he sees
And the
what's
only
in it.
reason
The devil's
that
getting
we
the
can
details.
play games with NATO is because I got them to put up hundreds of billions of dollars. I said, and he's right about this. I said, no, I'm not going to support NATO if you don't pay. They asked me that question. Would you guard us against Russia at a very secret meeting of the 28 states at that time, the nations at that time? And I said, no, if you don't pay, I won't do that. And you know what happened? Billions and billions of dollars came flowing in the next day and the next months. But
My
now,
first thought when he said it was like, oh no, Donald, don't talk about more secret meetings. He's
No
going to
shit.
charge you with more shit.
Yeah, why would you say that word? Many secret meetings.
They're just going to make up some more charges against him.
It was the most tremendous secret meeting.
Prosecutor Alvin Bragg says no one is above the laws that he makes up to prosecute you. Yes, Babylon Bay's been firing on also. But yeah, when he said that, I was like, Trump, no, they're going to just make up some more charges now.
we're in the same position. We're paying everybody's
Thank you.
bills.
Let's turn to the issue of democracy. Former President Trump,
Fine.
I want to ask you about January 6, 2021. After you rallied your supporters that day,
Here we go.
some of them stormed the Capitol to
This
stop the constitutionally mandated counting of electoral votes. As president, you swore an oath to, quote, preserve, protect, and defend, unquote, the Constitution. Say to voters who believe that you violated that oath through your actions and inaction on January 6th and worry that you'll do it again.
Well, I don't think too many believe that. And let me tell you about January 6th. On January 6th, we had a great border. Nobody coming through, very few. On January 6th, we were energy independent. On January 6th, we had the lowest taxes ever. We had the lowest regulations ever. On January 6th, we were respected all over the world. All over the world, we were respected. And then he comes in, and we're now laughed at. We're like a bunch of stupid people.
That's not.
But what happened to the United States' reputation under this man's leadership is horrible, including weaponization, which I'm sure at some point you'll be talking about, where he goes after his political opponent because he can't beat him fair and square.
You have 80 seconds left. My question was, what do you say to those voters who believe that you violated your constitutional oath through your actions and inaction on January 6, 2021, and worry that you'll do it
That
again?
was the
I
question.
didn't say that to anybody. I said peacefully and patriotically. And Nancy Pelosi, if you just watched the news from 2 days ago, on tape to her daughter, who's a documentary filmmaker, as they say, but she's saying, oh no, it's my responsibility. I was responsible for this. Because I offered her 10,000 soldiers or National Guard, and she turned them down. And the mayor in writing, by the way, the mayor in writing turned it down, the mayor of DC. They turned it down. I offered 10,000 because I could see, I had virtually nothing to do. They asked me to go make a speech. I could see what was happening. Everybody was saying they're going to be there on January 6th. They're going to be there. And I said, you know what? That's a lot of people coming. You could feel it. You could feel it too, and you could feel it. And I said, they ought to have some National Guard or whatever. And I offered it to her. And she now admits that she turned it down. And it was the same day she was, I don't know, she can't be very happy with her daughter because it made her into a liar. She said, I take full responsibility for January 6th.
President Biden?
Look, he encouraged those folks to go to the chemtrail.
Oh my God, Joe,
I
shut up.
sat in the dining room out there of the office. He sat there for 3 hours. 3 hours watching, begging, being begged by his vice president and a number of his colleagues and Republicans as well to do something, to call for a stop, to end it. Instead, they talked about these people being patriots and great patrons of America. In fact, he says he'll not forgive them for what they've done.
What did they do?
He says he wants to commit to census. and saying that, he went to every single court in the nation. I don't know how many cases, scores of cases, including the Supreme Court.
Scores even, he says.
They said, no, this guy is responsible for doing what was done. He didn't do a damn thing. And these people should be in jail. And they
For what?
should be
Exactly.
being held accountable. And he wants to let them all out. And now he says if he loses again, such a whiner that he is, I think it'll be a bloodbath.
Thank you, President Biden.
No,
President Trump?
no, don't even with the bloodbath.
Some people that are so innocent, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. What you have done, how you've destroyed the lives of so many people. When they ripped down Portland, when they ripped down many other cities, so you go to Minnesota, Minneapolis, what they've done there with the fires all over the city. If I didn't bring in the National Guard, that city would have been destroyed. When you look at all of they took over big chunks of Seattle. I was all set to bring in the National Guard. They heard that, they saw them coming, and they left immediately. What he said about this whole subject is so off. Peacefully patriotic. One other thing, the Unselect Committee, which is basically two horrible Republicans that are all gone now, out of office, and Democrats, all Democrats, they destroyed and deleted all of the information they found because they found out we were right. We were right. And they deleted and destroyed all of the information. They should go to jail for that. If a Republican did that, they'd go to jail. Thank you, President Trump. President Biden, I want to give you a minute.
The only person on the stage is a convicted felon is the man I'm looking at right now.
He's not looking at it.
What he's doing
He's not.
He's not actually.
Fact is that there's no effort on his part.
And we're back.
Occupied offices, turned over desks, turned over statues.
They're still bitching about January 6th.
Those people are patriots? Come on. When I asked the first two debates we had the first time around, I said, will you denounce the Proud Boy? He said, no, I'll tell them to stand by.
Just a proud boy.
The idea he's
That's what Proud Boys.
So will you denounce these guys?
Now there's only one
Will you
left.
denounce the people we're talking about now? Will you denounce the people who attacked that cop? What are you going to do?
I'm going to give you a minute, President Trump, for a follow-up question I have. After a jury convicted you of 34 felonies last month, you said if reelected, you would, quote, have every right to go after, unquote, your political opponents. You just talked about members of the Select Committee on January 6th going to jail. Your main political opponent is standing on stage with you tonight. Can you clarify exactly what it means about you feeling you have every right to go after your political opponents?
Well, I said my retribution is going to be success. We're going to make this country successful again, because right now it's a failing nation. My retribution is going to be success. But when he talks about a convicted felon, his son is a convicted felon at a very high level. His son is convicted, going to be convicted probably numerous other times. Should have been convicted before, but his Justice Department let the statute of limitations lapse on the most important things. But he could be a convicted felon as soon as he gets out of office. Joe could be a convicted felon with all of the things that he's done. He's done horrible things. All of the death caused at the border, telling the Ukrainian people that we're going to want $1 billion. You could change the prosecutor. Otherwise, you're not getting $1 billion. If I ever said that, that's quid pro quo. That we're not going to do anything. We're not going to give you $1 billion unless you change your prosecutor having to do with the son. This man is a criminal. This man, you're lucky. I did nothing wrong. We'd have a system that was rigged and disgusting. I did nothing wrong.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden, you have said, I'm coming right to you, sir. You
want to fucking in.
The idea
He sticks to the gimmick. I'll give him
I
that.
did anything wrong relative to what you're talking about is outrageous. It's simply a lie. Number one.
I gotta say,
Two, the
Biden,
idea that you have a right to seek.
all he had to do was just move on with the question, because when Trump goes, I didn't do anything wrong. I'm gonna be frank, I know to a lot of people that's gonna fall on deaf ears.
Yep.
Okay. But then not even 30 seconds later, you got Michael. I didn't do anything wrong. Like, dude, okay, Tony, we got Trump and Biden on stage both going, I didn't do anything wrong. Tony, Trump and this is like that scene from Team America World Police where the one puppet turns the female puppet around and goes, I promise I will never die. Like, I'm kind of aspects of that right now.
How could you do wrong as, I mean, a career politician like Joe? And
Most of them.
for the short amount of time Trump's been a politician, he's been, well, there's pretty good laundry list. So,
Okay,
yeah.
this kind of an aside, but I just want to let you. I'll never forget Trump's inauguration. Okay, I was sitting in the mill watching it with my brother, and we were both in disbelief. Okay, and we're like, the minute Trump puts his hand on the Bible, he's the president. Okay. Are they going to let this happen? Because I was just like, there's no way. It's kind of like this time around. I'm like, don't get me wrong, the votes are all lining up, but I don't know if they're actually going to let him do it. Okay, there's the, but I'll never forget his speech where he's got Obama, Bush, Hillary. They're all sitting right there. It's they have all let you down, but I will never ever let you down. Boy, you want to talk about a lofty promise? President of the United States promising to never ever let us down. Like, dude, that's half the job. Letting people down every day. Like, it's
all the time.
Actually, yeah, and then the other half of the job is disappointing people.
Yeah, that's
so like one half is
lot.
that one. It's like this one where Trump. Now, let's be frank. I even got like some folks on, an old show of mine I used to be on that were total Biden supporters, Trump haters, and they admitted there's no way Trump's going to have a fair trial here. And it was about specifically the New York case that he just got convicted on. They said, yeah, he's not going to have a fair trial. Like,
Of course not.
And that, like I've always said, I've said this many times on Twitter, which you can find K.O.E Nation on Twitter. Of course, Tony, I'm not above shameless self-promotion. Come on now. I've said many times, don't ever make the mistake of thinking any of these charges have anything to do with the law or the facts. Boy, that is a beautiful little stretch there. It's pure election interference. That's all this is. And so, I know some people that falls on deaf ears, but for his base, red fucking meat. Okay, red meat. So, shall we continue?
Please.
Retribution against any American just because you're president is wrong. It's simply wrong. No president's ever spoken like that before. No president in our history has spoken like that before. Number three, the crimes that you are still charged with.
President we've ever had. I had such a hard time getting through a sentence.
Civil penalties for molesting a woman in public, for doing a whole range of things, having sex with a porn star, while your wife was pregnant. What are you talking about?
Oh my God! Trump's face! Trump's face as he's saying this!
While your wife was pregnant.
Oh my God! Yeah, he did that.
I didn't have sex with a porn star.
Okay, but you did, Donald.
Like, I'm sorry, like, T.
Yeah.
Thinking back to a pleasant sexual memory, and you're like, yeah, that was a pretty good time, and joke from our cartoon president. The $160,000 was to pay her for a recompense for missing out on the greatest sexual awakening of her time. That's what the money was for. Okay, but yeah, that one is like, T. You're talking to a Trump supporter here. He might have fucked her. He might have. He might have.
Think he might have
I'm
done that?
not gonna say for sure that he did,
Think he probably did.
but there is a chance he might have.
There's a pretty good chance.
He might have fucked her.
And I think he pretty much just admitted it with his facial.
Tony's like, I
think he did.
think it's a little bit more than might have, is what Tony's thinking.
Yeah. Face is amazing.
Civil penalties
Billions?
for molesting a woman in public,
Billions.
or doing a whole range of things,
Videos.
of having sex with a porn star on the night while your wife was pregnant. Nobody.
Well, the eyebrows just told it all, Donnie.
It's going to be appealed to one. We had a very terrible judge, a horrible judge, Democrat.
Worst judge.
The prosecutor were all high-ranking.
Very bad, no good,
people,
terrible, awful,
both
worst.
the civil
Worst ammo.
and the criminal. He basically went after his political opponent because he thought it was going to damage me. But when the public found out about these cases, because they understand it better than he does, no idea what these cases are. But what he did, when they found out about these cases, you know what they did? My poll numbers went up way up. You know that because you're reporting it. And we took in more money in the last 2 weeks than we've ever taken in the history of any campaign. I don't think any campaign has ever taken hundreds of millions of dollars.
You just made Joe's nipples hard
because the
saying all
public knows it's a scam.
taking
And
all
it's a
that
guy that's
campaign
after his
money.
political opponent because he can't
Killing
win
me.
fair and square.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden, you have said, quote, Donald Trump and his MAGA Republicans are determined to destroy American democracy. Do you believe that the tens of millions of Americans who are likely to vote for President Trump will be voting against American democracy?
The more they know about what he's done, yes. The more they know about what he's done. And there's a lot more coming. He's got a lot of
Good
issues
answer.
coming up. He's got a whole range of issues he has to face. I don't know what the juries will do, but I do know he has a real problem. And so the fact that, could you ever think you heard any president say that I'm going to seek retribution? You ever hear any president say that I thought Hitler had some good ideas? What got me involved around the first place?
I still think he said that.
Yeah, it's just like throwing some shit out against the wall, seeing if it sticks.
So I saw what happened in Charlottesville, Virginia. People coming out of the woods carrying swastikas on torches, and singing the same anti-Semitic bio they sang when back in Germany.
What the fuck is he talking about? Yeah, they're coming out of the woodwork. All these maggots, they've been waiting 4 years. They're going to come out of the trees to come vote. And they're going to do it, and they're against democracy. The fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, this is
I spoke to another. They asked him, they said, what do you think of those people? People, the ones got killed, the one who tried to stop it. The ones, he said, I think they're fine people on both sides. What American president
Fine people
would
have
ever say? Not
Love
just
that
coming out
one.
of fields carrying torches, singing.
When they were grasping at straws
Carrying
because they didn't have Stormy Daniels or Russia or
This guy
documents.
says Hitler's done some good things. I'd like to know what they are. The good things Hitler's done, that's what he said. This guy has no sense of American democracy.
President Trump.
But you do,
That
Joe.
sir has been totally wiped out because when you see the sentence, it said 100% exoneration of that. So he just keeps it going. He says he ran because of Charlottesville. He didn't run
Joe
because of
is like
Charlottesville. He ran
Joe literally
because
looks like he
his
shit
ass
himself.
He's not equipped to be president. You know it. and I
I've
know
got
it's
4
ridiculous.
kids. I know that
We're
face.
trying to justify
That is the face of
his
somebody in
presidency.
mid-poop.
His presidency is, without question, the worst president, the worst presidency in the history of our country. We shouldn't be having a debate about it. There's nothing to debate. He made up the Charlottesville story, and you'll see it's debunked all over the place. Every anchor every reasonable anchor has debunked it. And just the other day it came out where it was fully debunked. It's a nonsense story. He knows that, and he didn't run because of Charlottesville. He used that as an excuse to run.
President Biden.
It debunked. It happened. All you have to do is listen to what was said at the time. And the idea that somehow that's the only reason I ran. I ran because I was worried a guy like this guy could get elected. If he thought they were good people coming out of that forest, carrying those torches, and he didn't deserve to be president.
coming out of
He didn't deserve to be president at all.
Down in the woods.
And he's talking about
Coming down from
all
the
the
trees.
things advocated. We saw with our own eyes. We saw what happened on January 6th. We saw the people breaking through windows. We saw people occupying his own vice president. Look, there's a reason why 40 of his 44 top cabinet officers refused to endorse him this time. His vice president hasn't endorsed him this time. So
I wonder why Mike Pence and Trump are getting along.
Yeah, crazy.
Thank you, President Biden. We're going to be right back with more from the CNN presidential debate.
So yeah, there's commercial breaks. So they're giving Biden commercial breaks also, giving him chances to rest. So T, thus far, what are your takes on the first 50 minutes of this debate?
Oh, it's amazing. Joe is doing what Joe's done for the last decade, really, just showcasing more and more of the very, very, very obvious decline that apparently people are just somehow now coming to the realization. It's incredible that people were so adamant to ignore it and say, that's not true, you're crazy, while looking at the same thing and not being able to conclude, yeah, this guy's clearly not all there.
Yeah, this is literally the Democrats' hubris kind of come home to roost.
It's incredible.
Like, now, Tony, here's the thing. Like, I'll never forget, after this debate, I watched a WIC panel for just a few minutes, and, like, ICAO was on there. And the K.O.E. from the lefty Democrats was actually quite amazing, because he was like, well, how I score it, I think Biden won, because he answered more questions than Trump. Like, here's the thing.
No.
Like, Tony,
That's not how debate works. That's just not how debate works. They teach you that in school.
The visual aspect cannot be ignored. Oh, that guy was wanting to get under that bridge, and he's finding out, oh, shit, can't fit under there.
It's not debate, though. It doesn't matter how many questions you ask. And that was the other thing I was going to say, is Trump is doing a very good job of dancing around and sidestepping questions. A few of them that he sidestepped, he did go back and answer, but he's not innocent in this either. Like, he did throw out some really nasty quotes for himself that will undoubtedly be used against him, that he should have known better. But it's not like he's ever been good at censoring himself from saying something he should.
The thing is, like, when he talked about the Putin thing, like, at this point,
I was not
they've
smart.
beaten that horse so many times.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't really, like,
Doesn't matter.
they
They'll
can't go
still
back
do
to that well again.
Yes, they can, and they will.
But, like, to me, the visual aspect of just like, wow, Biden can't do this. Because, yeah, some people are like, yeah, Trump's dodging a few questions. Like, the criticisms of Trump are all prototypical political, well, he didn't quite answer some questions right, and he didn't do this properly, and, he danced around that, and he didn't say the right thing there. With Biden, though, like, Van Jones was interesting to watch last night. He said, this, as someone that works with Biden and loves Biden dearly, he said it was painful to watch. It was actually physically painful.
Every question that Biden has answered has had several things. They've all had a bold-faced lie in it. It's all had incoherent rumblings. It's all had, I know you are, but what am I? And it's all had awful visual facials of a man clearly not in control of his own mind. Every response he has given has had those.
And also, like, everyone was talking about, like, Trump insulted too much during one of the debates. This one is like, Biden's the only one that's really throwing around, like, you got the morals of an alley cat. Like, no, it's like 1950s insults.
Yeah.
So it doesn't quite, like, let me tell you something, this kid's washed up. He's old news.
I think it's been pretty 50-50 in terms of the insults. Trump's just more coy about it. He's a lot smoother
administration and history.
I was say, he's saying these things, and they are very blatant insults. The only time it was blatant was when he would say, I don't, like when he insults his son, or when he's clearly, I don't know what he said, he doesn't know what he said. Like, those are obvious. But the other things he's saying, yeah, he's clearly throwing.
No, I don't know what he said, he doesn't know what he said. That was just brilliant riffing.
It was, and it was very effective. But I'd say the insults have been pretty half and half. Trump's are just way fucking better.
Well, if that's the case, then that means Biden has kicked it up way more if it's half and half.
First term.
Not in terms of winning the debate.
Again.
Just insults.
Just in
President Biden.
Volume.
While black unemployment dropped to a record low under your presidency, black families still earn far less than white families. Black mothers are still 3 times more likely to die from pregnancy-related causes, and Black Americans are imprisoned at 5 times the rate of white Americans.
Okay, before he even starts stumbling over this, numbers and statistics in these particular categories, I'm sorry, but you can put all the blame you want on the Democrats and Republicans. This is just a all-around failure of the U.S. government for decades and decades and decades. Like culture war and racism that have been perpetuated by the government intentionally are the reasons for these things happening. I'm not going to shoulder Joe Biden with this. I can't wait to see what he says because it'll be bad, but that's just a failure from the government from an intentional level for a long time because the government's better off with a divided nation, one, and we've seen this tenfold over the last 8 or so years, 12 years really, and it's growing and growing and growing, and a lot of the government's going to be better off if there's a lot more poor people, and they're going to be very effective at making more poor people by not helping veterans, by not helping people with mental or physical limitations, by not helping certain people of different skin color, minorities.
Oh yeah,
That's
the
just
government
how it is. That's what they want.
wants you broke.
Yes.
That's why the tax structure is what it is.
Yes.
Like but it literally actually is not possible to become wealthy by standard means. Anyway.
Correct.
It's like it literally like the ways that people got wealthy in America are not available to anyone anymore. It's not like, oh, it's just available to like no. It's literally it's what they'd say. It's what Ayn Rand in her book Atlas Shrugged called the economy of pull. It's who can you get pull from? Who can you get leverage over? Who can you blackmail? Who do you have that owes you a favor? Who can you cash in a favor on? That is how you gain power and thus wealth in the West now. The economy of pull.
Yeah.
So,
No, I get it. I just this I can't wait.
Black voters who are disappointed that you haven't made more progress.
Hey, Mel, has made a lot of progress, number one. Tax matters and more small.
no, you're not. We're struggling. No, you're not. That's Democrat messaging.
Wages of black unemployment is the lowest level it's been in a long, long time. Number three, we're providing housing for black Americans. And we're dealing with the segregation that exists among these corporations that collude to keep people out of their houses. And that the impact on the choice that black families have to make relative to child care is incredibly difficult. When we did the first major piece of legislation in the past, I was able to reduce black child care costs. I cut them in half. We're going to make sure we provide for child care costs. We're going to make sure, because when you provide those child care protections, you're going to increase economic growth because more people can be in the job market. So there's more to be done, considerably more to be done.
Or in care.
But we've done a great deal of supporting doesn't openly know.
You have 49 seconds left. What do you say to black voters who are disappointed with the progress so far?
I say I don't believe for
You got pushed.
inflation is still hurting them badly. For example, I provide for the
I thought you fixed
idea
it.
that
Yeah, what the hell?
black family.
He just said the quiet part out loud.
$10,000 tax credit.
He wants to give $10,000 to any black family for first time home.
Get started. I made sure
That won't buy you anything in this country. Like,
The housing market's insane right now.
I was going to say, a 10,000, like, if you gave, like,
Fuck is he?
Tony, if you got a 10,000, anybody that we knew that got a $10,000 credit towards your first, like, that might help with the closing costs because that's how insane.
Now it's only 70,000 under what or over what it should be.
Yeah. The housing market. Now, unfortunately, folks like Tony, your home isn't worth more. Your currency is just worth less. So
Yeah.
I have to take out student loans. That would pull me. That if they engage in nursing, doctor, and anything having to do with volunteers, if they paid their bills for 10 years, their student debt, all the rest is forgiven after 10 years. Millions have benefited from that. And we're going to do a whole lot more.
I don't know any.
something about forgiving student debt.
That's the inflation. He's blaming inflation. He caused the families and Hispanic families and just about everybody. It's killing people. They can't buy groceries anymore. They can't. You look at the cost of food where it's doubled, tripled, and quadrupled. They can't live. They're not living anymore. He caused this inflation. I gave him a country with essentially no inflation.
The thing, like, everybody tries to downplay that, but when he says it's killing people, like, all right, see, you and I are working age men, okay? We can go out and make a living.
Right.
There's like a couple of little old ladies at the church I go to. They're in their 90s, okay? Like, inflation's fucking crushing them.
Yeah.
Okay, like it's like all of get to watch. Okay, like it's so yeah, verbally, but in a way, it's not.
Right.
It was perfect. It was so good. All he had to do is leave it alone. He destroyed it with his Green New scam and all of the other, all this money that's being thrown out the window. He caused inflation. As sure as you're sitting there, the fact is that his big kill on the black people is the millions of people that he's allowed to come in through the border. They're taking black jobs now. And it could be 18, it could be 19, and even 20 million people. They're taking black jobs and they're taking Hispanic jobs, and you haven't seen it yet, but you're going to see something that's going to be the worst in our history.
Thank you. President Biden?
There was no inflation when I became president. You know why? The economy was flat on its back. 50% unemployment.
What?
It decimated the economy. Absolutely decimated the economy. That's why
No, that's not true.
there were no jobs.
Said
There were jobs. You just made them close.
We're in all communities, including minority communities. We made sure that they have health insurance.
No, you didn't.
The ACA has increased and made sure that they're $8,000 per person in a family to get written off for health care. There's a lot going on. And in inflation, he caused it by his tremendous seasons.
No.
Handle the pandemic.
Thank you. Another persistent challenge is the climate crisis.
He's having a hard time.
2023 was the hottest year in recorded history, and communities across the country are confronting the devastating effects of extreme heat, intensifying wildfires, stronger hurricanes, and rising sea levels. Former President Trump, you've vowed to end your opponent's climate initiatives, but will you take any action as president to slow the climate crisis?
Let me just go back to what he said about the police, how close the police are to him. Almost every police group in the nation from every state is supporting Donald J. Trump. Almost every police group. And what he's done to the black population is horrible. Look at the fact that for 10 years he called them super predators. We can't, in the 1990s, we can't forget that. Super predators was his name. And he called it to them, and they've taken great offense at it, and now they see it happening. But when they see what I did for criminal justice reform and for the historically black colleges and universities, I funded them and got them all funded. And the opportunity zones with Tim, as you know, Tim Scott was incredible. He did a great job, great senator from South Carolina. He came to me with the idea, and it was a great idea. It's one of the most successful economic development acts ever in the country, opportunity zones. And the biggest beneficiary are blacks. And that's why we have the best numbers with them. Maybe ever. They're saying ever. I read this morning where ever the best numbers. He's lost much of the black population because he's done a horrible job for black people. He's also done a horrible job for Hispanics. But wait till you see these millions of people pouring into our country, and they're going to take the jobs. And it's already, I want absolutely immaculate clean water. And I want absolutely clean air, and we had it. We had H2O. Okay. We had the best numbers ever.
Jesus.
And we were using all forms of energy, all forms, everything. We had during my 4 years, I had the best environmental numbers ever.
Okay.
My top environmental people gave me that statistic.
No, they didn't.
I walked on the stage, actually.
No, they did
I don't know
not.
where the hell he's been. The idea that he said is true. I passed the most extensive climate
You
change
can't even keep a straight face for that.
in history.
They give me the most perfect numbers statistically for climate guy. He said mine were the best.
No, like, what I was laughing about was Biden is kind of like, he's like, that's not true. He's starting to remind me of the guy from the Twisted Sister, We're Not Gonna Take It video. What do you want to do with your life? He's starting to remind me of that. They're like, this isn't true. Like, you tie up those shoes. What is that? A Twisted Sister button on your uniform? Like, yeah, it's getting a little repetitive with Joe. You don't know shit from apple butter, God. You know, you're like, yeah, it's like, so that's kind of what I'm laughing about. Like, no, Tony, he had the absolute cleanest water, the most spectacular air, the best H2O.
Contributors.
The H2O was a little weird. We had the H2O.
Any black student is capable in college of doing any white student can do. You just have the money now to be able to.
We're talking about the environment.
High tech.
I thought we were.
The idea that he is
And the H2O.
to have done something that had the cleanest water. He had done a damn thing in the environment. He, the Paris Peace Accord, Climate Accord.
I didn't do anything for the climate.
I'm not debating that. I'm just saying.
And then he went, there's no
It's
way
actually a
the
decent
only
response.
existential threat to humanity is climate change. And he didn't do a damn thing about it. He wants to undo all that I've done.
The Paris Accord was going to cost us $1 trillion, and China nothing, and Russia nothing, and India nothing. It was a ripoff of the United States. I'm the one that got the insulin down for the seniors.
Yes, you
I took
did.
care of the seniors. What he's doing is destroying all of our medical programs
This is
because
true.
the migrants coming in, they want everybody. And look, I have the biggest heart on the stage. I guarantee you that. And I want to
That's the biggest heart on.
They're destroying our country. They're taking over our schools, our hospitals, and they're going to be taking over Social Security. He is destroying Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid.
I'm gonna beat Medicaid.
Biden's already beaten it with a club.
We're not members of the Paris Accord. How can we do anything? We're not able to, the United States can't get us under control. One of the largest producers in the world.
Paris
Number one.
Accord.
We're making significant progress. By 2035, we will have cut pollution in half. We have made
Good pollution.
significant progress.
Yeah.
We're continuing to make progress.
It's like-
Set up a climate
like
code.
cholesterol.
There's thousands of
There's
young
good
people
pollution
learning
and
how
bad
to do
pollution.
it, just like Peace Corps. And we're moving in directions that will change the elements that cause pollution. But the idea that he claims that he has the biggest heart up here and he's really concerned about pollution and about climate, I'm not seeing any indication of that.
Or
And by the
bitching.
way, with regard to
But this guy's just bitching.
drugs, one company agreed that they would reduce the price to $35, which I was calling for once voluntarily. I made sure every company in the world, every pharmaceutical company.
No, you did
and they
not.
have to
Thank you.
And by the way,
So every day, millions of Americans struggle with immigrants meet.
And by the way, and anyway,
Critical
what
lifeline.
the fuck?
Biden, if nothing.
I know they cut him, but oh my god.
Like, yeah, it's normally when you have a captive audience and a chance, you push one more point, especially when the moderators are as sympathetic to him as they are. Like, now, granted,
Wow.
them doing the cutoffs has actually been the only saving grace to Biden all night. If this is a
I
standard
wish I could have heard it.
if this was a standard debate, Trump would have kept cutting him off,
Yeah.
and Biden's stammering would have been lost.
Oh yeah.
But like in the format that they set up to try and help Biden out, it ended up hurting him tremendously. So
For sure.
let's see how this
I
goes.
agree.
It's done to Social Security. Seniors will see their benefits cut in just over 10 years.
Okay.
Will you name tonight one specific step that you're willing to take to keep Social Security solvent?
yes, make the very wealthy begin to pay their fair share. Right now,
Then do it, you old fucking billionaire piece of shit.
6% of their income, of their paycheck, every single time they get a paycheck from the time the first one they get when they're 18 years old. The idea that they're going to,
God.
I'm proposing that everybody, they pay, the millionaires pay 1%. So no one after, when I raised the
What?
cost of Social Security for anybody under $400,000, after that, I began to make the wealthy begin to pay their fair share by increasing from 1% beyond to be able to guarantee the program.
I'm just like you,
You still have
lefties.
82 seconds left. Are there any other measures that you think
We're
that
gonna
would be
tax them
able to,
rich.
keep Social Security solvent?
That's their blue.
Is that one enough?
Well, that one enough will keep us solvent, but the biggest thing we'll do is we defeat this man.
Just raise
He wants
taxes.
to cut Social Security. He thinks there's plenty to cut in Social Security. He's wanting to cut Social Security and Medicare both times. And that's what.
Well, he didn't. So
Forward by the House Republican caucus that he supports is in fact want to cut it as well. The idea that we don't need to protect our seniors.
I have a feeling this is going to be the only debate.
And by the way,
Yeah, it kind of feels like it.
American public.
They have another one scheduled for September. I got a feeling it's not going to happen.
And basically, as I said, we're in a circumstance where 400,000 people.
In a surface ants.
40 million people do not have insurance because they have a pre-existing condition. Only allows them to have that insurance is the fact that they in fact are part of the ACA. And by the way, the other thing is, we're in a situation where I talk about education for Black communities. I've raised the amount of money for Pell Grants, another $8,000. Anybody making under $70,000 a year will be able to get $15,000 towards their tuition.
President Biden, President Trump.
So I've dealt with politicians all my life. I've been on this side of the equation for the last 8 years. I've never seen anybody lie like this guy. He lies. I've never seen him. He can look you in the face. So, but so many other things too. And we mentioned the laptop. We mentioned Russia, Ukraine. Everything he does is a lie. It's misinformation and disinformation. The losing that he made up is a total lie on the military. It's a disgrace. But Social Security, he's destroying it because millions of people are pouring into our country, and they're putting them onto Social Security. They're putting them onto Medicare, Medicaid. They're putting them in our hospitals. They're taking the place of our citizens. What they're doing to the VA, to our veterans, is unbelievable. Our veterans are living in the street, and these people are living in luxury hotels. He doesn't know what he's doing, and it's really coming back. I've never seen such anger.
President
The idea that veterans may not be taken care of, I told you before. By the way,
When have they been taken care of? Under what president have they been taken care of?
Fired that year.
Not this one.
That general got fired
Or most of them.
because he's the one that acknowledged that that's what he said. He was the one standing with Trump when he said it. Number one. Number two, the idea that we're going to be in a situation where all of these millions that Barry talks about, illegal aliens are coming into the country and taking away our jobs. There's a reason why we have the fastest growing economy in the world. The reason why we have the most successful economy in the world. We're doing better than any other nation in the world.
No, we're
By
not.
the way, those 15 Nobel laureates he talked about being phony, those 15 Nobel laureates, economists, they all said that if Trump was reelected, we're likely to have a recession and inflation increasing both. By the way, worst president in history.
They all said what I wanted them to say.
Well, here's the thing that you always got to remember about economists. And I've studied economics for years. Economists are all mouthpieces for their political tribe. You also got to understand that economists, there's no such thing as an economist that has made themselves wealthy through their economic projections. Okay, so there are people who claim to know how the wealth of nations should be run, but they're unable to generate any great wealth themselves, which is an interesting paradox where they
Oh,
claim,
that's a Nancy Pelosi.
well, here's the thing, she's not an economist.
Not by name.
She's not one, like, she doesn't make open projections. She just works
No, because
on
that would-
insider information.
Because that would require her to divulge secrets. So there you go.
Well,
Economists are wrong because if they were right, they wouldn't be telling anybody.
Yeah, they'd be getting rich like Nancy Pelosi. Okay.
Ta-da!
Now, the way Nancy Pelosi gets rich is because she's clearly operating on insider information that's available to the rest of the public.
No.
And legally, she can do that.
59 presidential scholars voted him the worst president in the history of the United States of America.
President Biden, thank you so much.
59 people that don't like Trump, that's shocking.
Many American families struggle to afford. President Trump, both you and President Biden have tried to address this issue, but the average cost is $7,000 a year per child for many families. The cost of child care for 2 children is more than their rent. In your second term, what would you do to make child care more affordable?
just think back, the general got fired because he was no good. And if he said that, that's why he made it up. But we have 19 people that said I didn't say it, and they're very highly respected, much more so than him. The other thing is, he doesn't fire people. He never fired people. I've never seen him fire anybody. I did fire a lot. I fired K.O.E because he was no good. I fired a lot of the top people at the FBI in the swamp. They were no good. Not easy to fire people. They were priced for it, but they were no good. I inherited these people. I didn't put them there. I didn't put
Here's your chance to
I fired.
sway the moderates, Donnie. By the way, no, he was fired because don't listen to him. What he said. But Donald, really shine with the people who may and could vote for. No, listen, but what Joe said was a lie. That's what we need to focus on here.
Everybody that's on the border, that's allowed.
This is the shit I'm talking about, Bill.
Can anybody get fired for allowing 13 million people?
This is what I'm talking about.
Many from
No, he should have answered that one straight away.
Institutions
You
that
think?
allow anybody that allowed our country to be destroyed. Joe, our country is being destroyed as you and I sit here and waste a lot of time on this debate. This shouldn't be a debate. He is the worst president. He just said it about me because I said it. But look, he's the worst president in the history of our country.
You're both just saying that about each other.
He's trying to get a little tough on the border. He come out.
This whole segment's been dog shit.
And then reduced it a little bit, like this much.
I heard economists say he was the worst.
Yeah, but he's the worst. He's the worst. To either be destroyed or he wants to pick up those people as voters. And I don't think
he picked up none of this response, so good job.
If he wins this election, our country doesn't have a chance, not even a chance.
Like, even if I'm agreeing with anything he's saying, we should do.
Country left anymore. That's how bad it is.
What a fail on response. Fuck.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden?
We're the most admired country in the world. We're the United States of
The
America.
greatest country.
There's nothing beyond our capacity. We're the finest military in the history of the world. The finest in the history of the world. No one thinks.
Nobody's talking about how they're going to bring the price of food down.
Oh, weird. Because they're not gonna!
And we're talking about worst presidents. I wasn't joking. Look it up.
Childcare costs too high? Here's their answer. You're wrong. No, you're wrong.
Presidential historians.
Fuck.
They've had meetings and they voted. Who was the
We're
worst
doomed.
president in American
Yeah, unfortunately, that one was a flop by both.
He was the worst of all of
Because, yeah, Joe, you're
That's a fact.
Boy,
That's not good.
no, you're the duty head.
someone with 4 kids. Oh, this ought to be a great response now. No response.
You get no, you're the duty head. No, you're the duty head. That's what we got there. Yeah, that one, like,
They were supposed to talk about the cost of childcare. Instead, they both acted like children. Bravo. Fucking bravo, guys.
I gotta give you that one, too.
Good God.
Childcare.
Oh, hey, they mentioned what the topic was.
We should significantly increase the childcare tax credit.
What?
We should significantly increase the availability of women and men or single parents to be able to go back to work. And we should encourage.
What is he talking about?
The whole to have.
Thank you, President Biden.
Yeah, shut him up.
The question was, is our.
Yeah, Jesus, they just, whoa!
Just so you understand.
Wow.
They just cut him off when he was in the middle, and to have and to hold, and like he started going through wedding vows. Okay, like wow. I think
This is not yanked.
okay. But
This looks like
we have
string.
to work, and we should encourage businesses to have.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump, the question was about what would you do to make childcare more affordable, if you want to take your minute.
try it
Just so you
again.
understand. We have polling, we have other things that they rate him the worst because what he's done is so bad. And they rate me, I'll show you, I will show you. And they rate me one of the best, okay? And if I'm given another 4 years, I will be the best. I think I'll be the best. Nobody.
And answering this question, no, you're not.
An economy like us.
You got
Nobody
2
ever
tries
has
now.
taxes like us. He's the only one I know. He wants to raise your taxes by 4 times. He wants to raise everybody's taxes by 4 times. He wants the Trump tax cuts to expire. So everybody, including the 2 of you, are going to pay 4 to 5 times. Nobody ever heard of this before.
Donald.
All my life, I grow up and I see
Donald.
politicians talking about cutting taxes.
Childcare costs.
When we cut taxes, as I said,
Donald.
we did more business.
Don.
Apple and all these companies
45.
that were bringing
Childcare.
money back into our country.
Childcare.
He's
The worst
bad,
president in
Tony.
history by
Childcare
far,
costs,
and
Donald.
everybody knows
He's
it.
bad.
President Biden?
Look, the fact of the matter is that he's dead wrong about it. He's increased them.
No, he's bad.
He will increase.
They had 2 fucking cracks at it.
I said I never.
They both had 2 shots at this one, and they both went back and forth at each other instead.
Everything's
It's amazing.
You know what the economists say? That's going to cost the average American $2,500 a year more because they're going to have to pay.
We're talking about tariffs now.
Food
Thank God.
and all things.
Now we're in here.
Number two,
Just keep going.
he's in a situation where he talks about how he is not raised.
As far as I know, Chicken was supposed to give me an update if one of the roads was closed, but we'll find out together.
Devastated by it. Now you want a new tax cut of $5 trillion over the next 10 years, which is going to fundamentally bankrupt the country. We have the largest deficit of any president in American history, number one. Number two, you have not, in fact, made any contact, any progress with China. We have the lowest trade deficit with China since 2010.
Thank you, President Biden.
Doesn't that make
Thank you, President Biden.
I don't know about you, but all my worries about the cost of childcare
I feel
and
better.
raising children,
I feel better.
my worries are gone, regardless of who gets voted.
Like, yeah, I was about to say, Tony, I'm starting to believe the two of them don't really have.
Have a plan?
Yeah, but so Tony, do you feel better about childcare costs?
I've never felt better.
It's definitely a high priority.
So what I'm
for both Trump and
what I'm hearing from their responses is,
fuck
you
you.
don't have any more fucking kids,
Boy, howdy.
because we're not going to help you at all. Yeah, there you go. Okay. Yep.
Impacting millions of Americans that both of you have made a top priority in your first term, the opioid crisis. And for both,
Oh, thank God we're going to tackle that.
Overdose deaths in this country has gone up under your term.
They're gonna really answer
under
this
your
question
term,
too, I
it has
think.
gone up. And former President Trump, despite the efforts that both of you
His
have
dad
made,
smokes crack.
100,000 Americans are dying
No,
of
he
overdoses
doesn't.
every
He's
year,
dead.
primarily from fentanyl and other opioids. What will you do to help Americans right now in the throes of addiction who are struggling to get the treatment they need?
To finish up, we now have the largest deficit in the history of
for
our country under this
fuck's
guy. We have the largest deficit with China. He gets paid by China. He's a Manchurian candidate. He gets money from China. So I think he's afraid to deal with them or something. But you notice he never took out my tariffs because we bring in so much money with the tariffs that I imposed on China. He never took them away. He can't because it's too much money. It's tremendous. And we saved our steel industries, and there was more to come. But he hasn't done that. But he hasn't cut the tariffs because he can't, because it's too much money. But he's got the largest deficit in the history of our country, and he's got the worst situation with China. China's going to own us if you keep allowing them to do what they're doing to us as a country. They are killing us as a country, Joe, and you can't let that happen. You're destroying our country.
So, President Trump, you have 67 seconds left. The question was, what are you going to do to help Americans in the throes of addiction right now who are struggling to get the treatment they need?
Jake, we were doing very well at addiction until the COVID came along. We had the 2.5, almost 3 years of like nobody's ever had before, any country, in every way. And then we had to get tough. And it was the drugs pouring across the border it started to increase. We got great equipment. We bought the certain dog. That's the most incredible thing that you've ever seen, the way they can spot it. We did a lot.
The certain dog.
We're getting
We bought the
very low
best
numbers.
dog.
Very, very low
Best.
numbers. Then he came
Low
along.
numbers.
The numbers, have you seen
That's
the
his
numbers
response.
now? It's not only the 18 million people that I believe.
It was the COVID, because we had the best dog.
Tony,
The COVID screwed us because
like
we
it
bought
or
the
not,
best dog.
he bought the best dog is more of an answer than either one of them gave to the child care answer. Okay? We bought a really good
Yeah,
dog.
we bought a
He
really
was the
good dog.
best little poochie. Okay? He was house trained and everything, Tony. What more do you fucking want, you asshole?
Yeah, I'm sorry. You're right.
God.
Had the best dog, but COVID
Let's see if Biden
fucked it up.
let's see if Biden even touches this.
But the numbers of drugs and human trafficking in women coming across our border, the worst thing I've ever seen, at numbers that nobody's ever seen under him because the border's so bad. But the number of drugs coming across our border now is the largest we've ever had by far.
President Trump, thank you. President Biden.
Fentanyl and the byproducts fentanyl went down for a while. And
For a
I wanted
while.
to make sure we use the machinery that can detect fentanyl. These big machines that roll over everything that comes across the border. And it costs a lot of money. That was part of this deal we put together.
What?
It's bipartisan
We
deal.
have steamrollers
Fentanyl
to detect the
machines,
fentanyl.
more be able to detect drugs, more numbers of agents.
Well-
All over the border. And when we had that deal done,
What we have discovered is in terms of childcare and fentanyl, we are fucked. 100%.
Indeed.
Like it's sort of like in Dark Knight, like Gotham. We have not abandoned you. What does that mean? It means we're on our own. Like, yep.
Yeah.
In terms of childcare and fentanyl, America, we're on our own here. Oh shit.
Yeah.
Hey, good.
he called us Republican colleagues, said, don't do it. It's going to hurt me politically. Well, he never argued it's not a good bill. It's a really good bill. We need those machines. We need those machines. We're coming down very hard in every country in Asia in terms of precursors for fentanyl, and Mexico is working with us to make sure they don't have the technology to be able to put it together. That's what we have to do. We need those.
So what we have is the best dogs, or an undescript amorphous idea of some anomalous machine.
Well,
Like, is it a printer? Is it a fax machine? Is it like, I think he's thinking of, you ever seen Richie Rich? Where they got the little thing with like the little pig snout on the end, and it'll smell it and it'll tell you what it is. I think that's what Biden thinks is actually like
spend $1 billion on it.
at least.
Oh boy.
Machines.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump, and again,
Now we're
the
going up
question
in
is
traffic.
about Americans in the throes of addiction right now, struggling to get the treatment they need.
Well, because this does pertain to it. He ended remain in Mexico. He ended catch and release. I made a catch and release in Mexico, not catch and release here. We had so many things that we had done, hard negotiations with Mexico, and I got it all for nothing. It's just like when you have a hostage, we always pay $6 billion for every time we say there's a hostage. Now we have a hostage, the Wall Street Journal reporter, I think a good guy, and he's over there because Putin is laughing at this guy, probably asking for billions of dollars for the reporter. I will have him out very quickly, as soon as I take office. Before I take office, I said, by literally, as soon as I win the election, I will have that reporter out. He should have had him out a long time ago. But Putin's probably asking for billions and billions of dollars because this guy pays it every time. We had 2 cases where we paid $6 billion for 5 people. I got 58 people out, and I paid essentially nothing.
Thank you, President Trump. Dana?
Let's turn to concerns that voters have about each of you. President Biden, you would be 86 at the end of your second term. How do you address concerns about your capability to handle?
Like, you can almost see the tears in her eyes as she's having to ask this.
Yeah.
Like, oh God, can't we please skip this quit? Nope, it's on there. It's on the cue card.
Toughest job in the world well into your 80s?
Well, first of all, I spent half my career being criticized being the youngest person in politics. I was the second youngest person ever elected to the United States Senate, and now I'm the oldest. This guy's 3 years younger. We're all less competent. I think this the situation he left me. As I said, 15 million new jobs, 800,000 manufacturing jobs, more investment in America.
None of that's true.
Billions of dollars in private investment in enterprises. So we are growing. By the way, we brought an awful lot of people. The whole idea of computer chips, we said 40% of the market. We invented those chips, and we lost it because he was sending people to find the cheapest jobs overseas and to bring home a product. So I went to South Korea. I convinced Samsung to invest billions of dollars here in the United States. And then guess what?
Yeah, it was
Those
you.
fabs, they call them, to build these chips. Those fabs pay over $100,000. Don't need a college degree for them. And there's billions, $40 billion already being invested and being built right now in the United States, creating significant jobs for Americans from all over the world.
President Biden, you have 40 seconds left. Would you like to add anything?
Yeah, I would. The idea that somehow
Jesus.
we are this failing country Never heard a president talk like this before. We're the Indian
Speak for yourself.
Single major.
Well, so that's what you were talking when you were running.
Yeah, what's the
America. All our problems and all our opportunities. We're the most progressive country in the world at getting things done. We're the strongest country in the world. We're a country in the world who keeps our word, and everybody trusts us. All of our allies and our those who he calls up from Kim Jong-un, he sends love letters to, Putin, etc. They don't want to screw around with us.
Thank you. Former President Trump, to follow
What
up,
the
you would
fuck
be
was that?
at the end of your second term. What do you say to voters who have concerns about your capabilities to serve?
Well, I took 2 tests, cognitive tests. I aced them, both of them, as you know. We made it public. He took none. I'd like to see him take one, just one. A real easy one. Like go through the first 5 questions. He couldn't do it. But I took 2 cognitive tests. I took physical exams every year. And you know, we knock on wood wherever we may have wood, that I'm in very good health. I just won 2 club championships, not even senior, 2 regular club championships. To do that, you have to be quite smart and you have to be able to hit the ball a long way. And I do it. He doesn't do it. He can't hit a ball 50 yards. He challenged me to a golf match. He can't hit a ball 50 yards. I think I'm in very good shape. I feel that I'm as in good a shape as I was.
Please tell me this thing's almost over.
Actually, I'm probably a little bit lighter, but I'm in as good a shape as I was years ago. I feel very good.
You're not.
But I was willing to take a cognitive test. And you know what? If I didn't do well, I aced him. Dr. Ronnie Jackson, who's a great guy when he was White House doctor. And then I took another one, a similar one. And one of them said they'd never seen anybody ace him.
Thank you,
Oh, gosh.
President Biden.
I'm the only one that's ever aged it.
And only 225 pounds, or 235 pounds. Well, he says 6'4", 200. So anyway, that's what anyway, just take a look at what he says he is and take a look at what he is. Look, I'd be happy to have a driving contest with him. I got my
I'd be happy to have a driving
vice
contest.
president down to a 6. But by the way, I told you before, I'm happy to play golf if you carry your own bag. Think you can do it?
It's the biggest one. He's a 6 handicap of all.
I was an 8 handicap. 8.
What?
I've
seen you swing. I know you swing.
What the fuck is happening?
Let's not act like children.
President Trump, we're going to.
Let's not act like children.
Tony, 2 old men are arguing about their golf game on a presidential debate.
I just wanted to hear what their plans for child care costs.
No, you're going to hear how Joe lies on his handicap, and you're going to hear how
I'm an 8 handicap. This is bad.
2 boomers arguing about their golf game is what it descended to at the end.
Fucking awful.
To a specific concern that voters have about you. Will you pledge tonight that once all legal challenges have been exhausted, that you will accept the results of this election, regardless of who wins, and you will say right now that political violence in any form is unacceptable?
Well, I shouldn't have to say that, but of course I believe that. It's totally unacceptable. And if you would see my statements that I made on Twitter at the time, and also my statement that I made in the Rose Garden, you would say it's one of the strongest statements you've ever seen. In addition to the speech I made in front of, I believe, the largest crowd I've ever spoken to. And I will tell you, nobody ever talks about that. They talk about a relatively small number of people that went to the Capitol, and in many cases were ushered in by the police. And as Nancy Pelosi said, it was her responsibility, not mine. She said that loud and clear. But the answer is, if the election is fair, free, and I want that more than anybody. And I'll tell you something. I wish he was a great president, because I wouldn't be here right now. I'd be at one of my many places enjoying myself. I wouldn't be under indictment because I wouldn't have been his political opponent, because he indicted me because I was his opponent. I wish he was a great president. I would rather have that. I wouldn't be here. I don't mind being here. The only reason I'm here is he's so bad as a president that I'm going to make America great again. We're going to make America great again. We're a failing nation right now. We're a seriously failing nation. And we're a failing nation because of him. His policies are so bad. His military policies are insane. They're insane. These are wars that will never end with him. He will drive us into World War III, and we're closer to World War III than anybody can imagine. We are very, very close to World War III, and he's driving us there. And
Close.
Kim Jong-un,
We're not there.
and President Xi of
Even
China,
Donald
Kim Jong-un
Trump
of
is
North Korea,
screws.
all of these, Putin, they don't respect
Nobody's
him.
perfect.
They don't fear him. They have nothing going with this gentleman, and he's going to drive us into World War III.
He drives into World War VI.
Let him follow and win and let Putin say do it.
Them, they don't fear
Near World War
They have
III.
nothing going with this gentleman, and he's going to drive us into World War III.
You're in World War III. Let him follow and win and let Putin say do what you want, NATO. Just do what you want. There's a thing called Article 5. Attack on one is attack on all. Required response. The idea, I can't think of a single major leader in the world who wouldn't trade places with the job I've done, what they've done. Because we are a powerful nation. We have wonderful peace because of the people. Not me, it's because of the American people. They're capable of anything and they step up when they're needed. And right now, we're needed. We're needed to protect the world because their own safety is at stake. And again, you want to have a war, just let Putin go ahead and take Kyiv, make sure they move on, see what happens in Poland, Hungary, and other places along that border. Then you have a war.
President Trump, as I come back to you for a follow-up, the question was, will you accept the results of this election, regardless of who wins?
Just to finish what he said, if I might, Russia,
Turn here.
they took a lot of land from Bush. They took a lot of land from Obama and Biden. They took no land, nothing from Trump, nothing. He knew not to do it. He's not going to play games with me. He knew that. I got along with him very well, but he knew not to play games. He took nothing from me. But now he's going to take the whole thing from this man right here. That's a war that should have never started. It would have never started ever with me. And he's going to take Ukraine. And, you know, you asked me a question before, would you do this? He's got us in such a bad position right now.
So no, you won't accept the
Ukraine and
election
Russia.
results. Got it.
Because Ukraine's not winning that war. He said, I will never settle until such time. They're running out of people. They're running out of soldiers. They've lost so many people. It's so sad. They've lost so many people, and they've lost those gorgeous cities with the golden domes that are 1,000 years old, all because of him and stupid decisions. Russia would have never attacked.
President Trump, the question was, will you accept the results of the election, regardless of who wins? Yes or no, please.
If it's a fair and legal and good election, absolutely. I would have much rather accepted these, but the fraud and everything else was ridiculous. And if you want, we'll have a news conference on it in a week, or we'll have another one of these in a week. But I will absolutely, there's nothing I'd rather do. It would be much easier for me to do that than
Heard this one before.
running again. I wasn't really going to run until I saw the horrible job he did. He's
Yeah,
destroying our country. I would be very happy to be someplace else, in a nice location someplace. And again, no indictments, no political opponent stuff, because it's the only way he thinks he can win. But unfortunately, it's driven up by numbers and driven up to a very high level because the people understand it.
Let's see what your numbers are when this election is over.
Oh, he got you there.
You lost the first time. You continued, you appealed and appealed to courts all across the country. Not one single court in America said any of your claims had any merit, state or local, none. But you continue to provoke this lie. Somehow there's all this misrepresentation, all this stealing. There's no evidence of that at all. And I tell you what, I doubt whether you'll accept it because you're such a whiner. The idea if you lose again, you accept anything, you can't stand the loss. Something snapped in you when you lost last time.
We'll be right back with more from the CNN presidential debate.
So, Tony,
Well, that section sucked ass.
I was about to say, you feel a lot better about
No, I don't feel good
the
about anything.
country.
None of it. None of that was good. None of that. Like, neither of them said anything in that section.
It was like, yeah, that
was
section was,
thought-provoking.
no, you suck. No, he's the one that sucks. He's Here they
I
said,
got economists that say he sucks. Now, see, I got a dog that smells the best drugs.
and let's be frank, my golf game is
What the
way better
fuck?
than yours.
It was fucking terrible.
Yeah, that was two old men complaining about their golf game and like saying how they could beat each other at golf.
Yeah. Let's finish this on a low note.
It's their closing statements.
God,
Yep. So Tony,
I'm ready.
thus far, I think Trump takes W kind of by default,
Well, yeah, because there's some spots he really sucked on, but
but
there's nothing that Joe is clearly.
To deliver their
Coherence.
No.
as predetermined by a coin toss. We're going to begin with you, President Biden. You have 2 minutes.
We've made significant progress from the debacle that was left by President Trump.
Oh, fuck you.
Last two.
just listen, this is bad.
We find ourselves in a situation where, number one, we have to make sure that we have a fair tax system. Ask anyone out there in the audience or anyone out watching this debate, do you think the tax system is fair? The fact is, that I said, nobody would make it afford. Anyone out there in the audience or anyone out watching this debate,
The audience?
tax system is fair.
There isn't
Fact
one.
is that I said, nobody would make it under $400,000.
He sees a hole in his head right now.
Increase in their taxes and will not. And if I'm reelected, that will be the case again. But this guy has increased your taxes because of the deficit. Number one, he's increased inflation because of the debacle he left after the way he handled the pandemic. And he finds himself in a position where he now wants to tax you more, paying 10% tax in the United States of America. What I did, well, for example, he wants to get away with it and get rid of the ability of Medicare for the ability for us to be able to negotiate drug prices with the big pharma companies. Well, guess what? We got it down to $35 for insulin instead of $400. No more than $2,000 for every senior, no matter how much prescription they need. You know what that did? That reduced the federal debt by $160 billion over 10 years because the government doesn't have to pay the exorbitant prices. I'm going to make that available to every senior all along, it's happening now, and everybody in America. He wants to get rid of that. I'm going to make sure that we have child care. We're going to significantly increase the credits people have for child care. We're going to make sure we do something about what we're doing on
Some sort of credit.
Oh, there's credit now.
causing health problems for people across the country. We're going to continue to fight to bring down inflation and give people a break.
Be nice you
Thank you,
started.
President Trump. You now have 2 minutes for your closing statement.
That was
Like some of the
terrible.
politicians, this man is just a complainer. He said, we want to do this, we want to do that, we want to get rid of this tax, that tax. But he doesn't do anything. He doesn't do, all he does is make our country unsafe by allowing millions and millions of people to pour in. Our military doesn't respect him. We look like fools in Afghanistan. We didn't stop Israel. It was such a horrible thing that would have never happened. It should have never happened. Iran was broke. Anybody that did business with Iran, including China, they couldn't do business with the United States. They all passed. Iran was broke. They had no money for Hamas or Hezbollah, for terror, no money whatsoever. Again, Ukraine should have never happened. He talks about all the stuff, but he didn't do it. For 3.5 years, we're living in hell. We have the Palestinians and we have everybody else rioting all over the place. You talk about Charlottesville. This is 100 times Charlottesville, 1,000 times. The whole country is exploding because of you, because they don't respect you, and they have to respect their president, and they don't respect you throughout the world. What we did was incredible. We rebuilt the military. We got the largest tax cut in history, the largest regulation cut in history. The reason he's got jobs is because I cut the regulations that gave jobs, but he's putting a lot of those regulations back on. All of the things that we've done, nobody's never seen anything like, even from a medical standpoint, right to try, where we can try space-age materials instead of going to Asia or going to Europe and trying to get when you're terminally ill. Now you can go and you can get something. You sign a document. They've been trying to get it for 42 years. But you know what we did for the military was incredible choice for our soldiers, where our soldiers, instead of waiting for 3 months to see a doctor, can go out and get themselves fixed up and readied up and take care of themselves, and they're living. And that's why I had the highest approval rating in the history of the VA. So all of these things, we're in a failing nation, but it's not going to be failing anymore. We're going to make it great again.
Thank you, former President Trump, President Biden.
Yeah.
He did very well in the beginning.
First half, yeah, he did.
Now, luckily, he made so many points in the first half because Biden was kind of tripping over his own dick so much that Trump sort of won by default. Like the second half, your did maybe just a wee little bit ignore a question or two.
Pretty much all of them. Like, there wasn't a good.
There was
No.
there was one or two that got answered-ish. Now, my favorite one was
Yeah, anybody who hasn't watched it, like, you can just watch the first half, and then they take a commercial break, skip next, and then just listen to the closing second. If that entire second portion, besides the closing, you don't need it. There's no answers there. Nothing gets solved. It's just a couple of old guys dick measuring, which is not impressive.
on their golf game.
Not talking about an issue and blaming each other. That was rotten. That was a bad debate. Like he started strong, did Trump. Joe did not start, period, in most of the scenarios.
Yeah, he never got off the ground. So, like, that was Now, Tony, do you see why the Democrats are in panic right now?
As they should be.
Like, they stuck with Joe?
No, I don't see why they're in panic now. No, this makes no sense to me. They should have been planning for the future because they said from the get-go he's going to be a one-term guy. And now they couldn't figure out somebody else in the last 3.5 years, and now they're stuck with him, and now they're panicking. This shouldn't have been panic mode. This should have been, we got the White House. What are we going to do come 2024? Because regardless of how Trump didn't win, they should have been planning in case he comes up again or whoever. And now it's Trump, and the best they could come up with was the incumbent, who was never a good option to begin with. So, no, I do not understand why they are in a panic now. They should have been in a panic from the fucking get-go, since January 6th. That's when they should have been panicking. Not because of a bunch of fucking hillbillies taking a tour of the Capitol building, but because, oh God, what do we do now? What do we do next? Because if you're not thinking for the future, and I blame both parties, because apparently neither party thinks ahead for the future anymore, and I've said this, I don't get it. Why are you so focused on these two guys when you could have been planning? You could have been strategizing. You could have been putting the right people in a position to win an easy victory. Like, what the fuck?
Too late now.
It is.
The Democrats' hubris, where they just thought, it doesn't matter, we're going to win no matter what, led them to this moment where, in their desperation, they turned to a man that they did not fully grasp his lack of capacity.
It's baffling. I don't get it. I'm sorry. I can't watch that and see how anybody can think that Donald Trump is in a cognitive decline and Joe Biden is sharp as a tack. Like, this falls on deaf ears, because that argument is either literally you are willfully ignorant if you believe that, willfully ignorant, or you yourself have an issue in your own head, because no, that is blatant. And now even the people who were willfully ignorant are abandoning that ship. So
yeah, the people who said that Biden won that debate, and I was watching a bit of a WIC panel, and like folks like K.O.E. and all the really pro Biden people were in full-on COPE. Like, it was just COPE. They just didn't really care about, like, well, no, I think Biden won because the way I score it. It's like,
well, score it however you want.
It's sort of like the Richard Nixon people and their COPE back when Richard Nixon and Kennedy debated. If you listened on the radio, you thought Nixon won. If you watched on TV, and like, Tony, a picture's worth 1,000 words. We just saw,
Yeah.
like, bro, the fuck. Like,
Yeah, visually speaking, it doesn't even matter.
Like, yeah, like, visually speaking, the election's over. Because
There should be no deaf person undecided now if they watch this thing.
Ooh,
Because if they were reading captions and reading the face, it's over.
ooh, yeah, because Biden's just like God. I mean, it's like
He literally was losing his mind at one point, laughing. There was a point where I literally had seen that face of a toddler shitting themselves, and that's the face he had. And anytime Trump would say something, it was this look of disgust of how dare he say these things that are probably true, but I'm going to say aren't true. It's just awful, awful. That's embarrassing. Elder abuse.
yeah. Like here's the thing: as Tony, you and I have, in one form or another, over the last several years, been engaged in the art of communication.
Yeah.
As a communicator, how do you set it right back there, and then it all got shuffled out? So it might be like underneath the seat or something.
Got it.
Sweet. All right. But as a communicator, that was abysmal. That was something he prepared for a week. And that was the performance he was capable of giving.
If that's the best performance you can give at a debate, when you're in your 80s and you're already being questioned on your cognitive abilities and you were prepped and hidden for a week and this is what you've got, I'm sorry, this is not a question of whose politics are better. This is just like, can we set aside your political tribalism and just be realistic for a second? That this is terrifying that this person is the leader of the free world.
Yeah, like what we found is no one is energized. The world is terrified. Because we all just came to the realization that Joe Biden is not up for the task that he is being asked to do by his party.
No, and I'd say at this point, if they're going to make a move,
they need to act fucking fast.
We're well past that point, but if they're going to make a move, it's got to be swift, it's got to be quick, and it's going to have to be a big one. Because if this is the faith that people were expected to put into the Democratic Party, and now they don't just stick to their guns, oh boy. But yes, this is essentially the Democrats are in an impasse because it doesn't matter what they do at this point. You're at a T intersection. Either you can stick with this, which is a horrible idea, and you're going to alienate the people who are now apparently sobering up that Joe Biden's not capable. Or
in a quarter mile, turn right onto South Dakota 50 West.
Or you turn right and you discover that, oh God, we have nobody else, but they need us to put somebody else out there. And if you put somebody else out there, it's going to send the message to your voting base that they shouldn't have had faith in you to begin with. That they should have had faith in you to put this guy in this position to begin with. So it's a lose-lose situation for the Democrats. Stick your guns, roll with Joe, alienate half your voting base. Switch now with somebody they don't want, that's not going to be a good option because apparently they didn't have one, and alienate the other portion. So I just don't see, and we thought this 4 years ago, though, how they can come out of this ahead. But alas, they can, and they have, and they could again, even with Joe or even with a Hail Mary replacement of.
I think the audience can tell every single time I hit the gas.
Yeah, I think so. Clearly, it was a lot more secure when we started the drive. Hopefully, some of this is usable. Good luck at it.
Fun times.
So yeah, that's my thoughts. I just don't see how this is going to work for the Democrats.
You know, you can make whatever analysis you want, like, oh, Trump should have done this, or Trump should have done that, or what. Like, none of that really matters in the face of Biden just not being competent for the job. Clearly, this is the hardest job on the planet, and this is also sort of an indictment of the baby boomer generation, where they just, like, the baby boomers especially, just cannot and will not give up any measure of power, because to them, it's what they've strived for their entire lives, is they finally have this power, they finally have this authority, and they just can't let it go. And it doesn't matter what it is, and they'll hold on to this into their 80s, into their 90s.
Turn right onto South Dakota 25 North.
And Biden is just sort of the symptom of it. Yeah, just as well. The symptom of the idea that they just don't want to give up an inch at all, whether it be power or anything, even if they're not capable of it, even if they're not competent for it. Like, like if I ever get to the point where I lose a step, I'm going to tell the future Miss K.O.E, like, hey, take me home, put a drink in my hands. So, folks, yeah, the boomers may very well lead this world to ruin. So, folks, as I'm known to say around here, all that being said, that has been this review of the first presidential debate live reaction. Yeah, probably last. I don't see Biden, can you imagine how hopped up on Adderall they're going to have? They're definitely going to time it different. I get the feeling that they just, if they did give him anything, they gave it to him, right before he got on stage and didn't really kick in until sort of the end, and then it kind of faded away again. So that's the problem with any drug. You get, diminishing returns. But, folks, that was this very unique filming experience. You can find me, Phil K.O.E, right here at Hazard Analysis. You can find me at K.O.E Nation on YouTube, TikTok, Twitch, and Twitter. And I am signing off and handing it off to my indomitable broadcast partner, the one, the only,
Tony G. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.